With the yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Sartor Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Sartor Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back.
Sauter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SauterHeyman.com.
Are you dragging through each day? Most people are dehydrated or deficient in essential vitamins, minerals, and more. Live Hydration Spa helps you get more out of your life with their IV hydration treatments to help with anti-aging, weight loss, endurance, and more. Their performance packages can help you feel better doing your normal daily routine with boosts of energy and vitality, an increase in immunity, and quicker athletic recovery. Call today for an appointment at 402-413-2042 or walk in at 71st and Pioneers. Live Hydration Spa.
At Southeast Community College, fall just arrived, but spring is already on our minds. Registration for the spring 2022 semester begins October 25th. Whether you want to get a head start on a 4-year degree, learn a new trade with a certificate program, or add to your job skills, SCC has a class for you. Spring semester starts January 10th. Learn more about our more than 60 programs of study online at southeast.edu. SCC, your path to possible.
Brokers Insurance Agency is currently hiring full-time and part-time insurance professionals. They will provide you with the training and education to obtain your insurance licenses. Brokers Insurance Agency takes pride in educating clients with the best insurance program to help their clients meet their specific goals. If you're a hardworking, motivated person and would like to discuss a great career opportunity with Brokers Insurance Agency, please call Ken Richards at 402-420-5353 or email service@brokersinsuranceagencyne.com. The team at Brokers Insurance Agency is looking forward to helping you get started with your insurance career.
The hottest rookies, the biggest superstars, the all-time greats. There's only one place to collect them all, Panini Trading Cards. As the exclusive trading card partner of the NFL and the NFLPA, Panini America utilizes iconic brands like Donruss and Contenders, delivering instant classic trading cards of the most popular players. For autograph cards, memorabilia, rare inserts, and rookie cards, there's something for everyone in Panini America packs. Start or continue your collection today at PaniniAmerica.net.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. This is Tom and Bock, coming at you live from Coppell Chevrolet GMC Studios in the heart of Lincoln, America, on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here are your hosts, Tom Stevens.
You know, we failed, but I thought it was a great effort. I thought that the plan was laid out perfectly.
Jake Bockoven.
I'm not sure I get my point across properly. I'm sure I don't do a good job of explaining what I mean.
Tom and Bock starts now.
Welcome in. It is a Thursday with Tom and Bock. I'm Tom Stevens. He's Jake Bockoven. And we're down. Rico got the best of us, man.
He did last night.
There's Rico looking in the camera, and I'll be wearing the hat for 3 hours. There's the Knicks gear. That looks good on me, doesn't it? No, you actually have the Knicks jersey on today. The Celtics lose in double overtime. Man, I thought they were going to win.
What a game that was, though. I mean, after sometimes in the regular season, you can at least say, well, there were no losers. I mean, there were in the standings.
That was second most points, I believe, scored in an opening game in NBA history. 138 to 134, double overtime. Celtics were down 10 or about 10?
Yeah.
With a few minutes left to go in the game. They tie it up on a Marcus Smart three-pointer, go to overtime. But, heck, New York's pretty good.
Yeah.
New York's pretty good. Julius Randle's legit. RJ Barrett. They've got some weapons. And the guy that we used to have last year, Evan Fournier, with 32 points, a career high.
Yeah, and just daggers, absolute daggers there in a couple of
you know
overtimes.
what? That was bad defense by the Celtics. They were going under screens the entire time.
When they were doubling Randall and letting the other Knicks hit it because Randall was just mismatched.
Fournier's not a guy that you just give up threes to. I mean, that's what he does.
Yeah.
I thought it was bad defense, but congratulations, Rico. You win.
You guys are downplaying the fact that Jaylen Brown went off.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown also went
46 points from Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown was so maddening last night because he could not miss. There was the point where the Knicks were up, I think 6 or something, or maybe they're up 5, and Jaylen Brown takes like 42-footer and just drains it. Nothing, like every time he shot it, I don't think it hit the rim. Like it was just nothing but net. And I'm just sitting there like, you can't play better defense. Like Fournier's in his face, RJ Barrett's in his face, and he's just hitting everything.
But he's been good for a while. I mean, he's been good for a while. He's an all-star. I mean, he's a guy.
But he had his inhaler last night because of COVID recently.
He was playing like short spurts and then going out and like barely breathing on the bench and then coming back in and going off. It was actually very helpful that Jason Tatum couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat.
Yeah, that was the problem with the Celtics.
Tatum was 7 of 30 last night. 7 of 30.
That's like an old Allen Iverson stat when he used to ball
RJ Barrett.
That was a wide open.
That was
most of the time,
I mean, the Celtics.
The Celtics are going to be better than I thought they were going to be. I thought it was just Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, and they were going to be bad because Dennis Schroeder is bad and Marcus Smart can't hit shots. But Marcus Smart was hitting a couple threes. Robert Williams Jr., whatever, he's
a third.
He's good.
Fantastic at blocking shots. You also have some other power forward that looks like a bigger Avery Bradley.
Grant Williams. I don't like Grant Williams.
Grant Williams was hitting three.
He hit some big
like
ones
3
there.
threes in a
but
row.
He was left wide open for a reason.
Well, I was like sitting there and I go, he's not gonna hit that. He hit the first one. I go, that was luck. Then he hit the second one. I was like, okay, can somebody please get out on him? And then he hit the third one. And I was like, guard him.
What you give us? Who do you want? Who do you want for Fournier?
Jaylen Brown.
We'll give you Schroeder.
No, I'll take Jaylen Brown for Evan Fournier.
I mean, we got Schroeder for $2 million, and I'm thinking, man, that's not a good deal.
That's calm down. Schroeder for a few years ago was like the leading prospect for
he
the
missed
Hawks.
a layup.
Dennis Schroeder in Atlanta was fantastic.
If he makes that layup, we win the game.
And then he was like the 6th man of the year, runner up for 6th man of the year a few years ago.
I don't want him.
Yes, you do.
I don't want him. You can have him.
Me,
I'll take Fournier. You can have Schroeder.
He missed it because Kemba
Fournier
Walker
costs like $19 million more.
Kemba
and
Walker
neither
was
team's
right
going to
there.
win anything. So
it's all right. It was a fantastic game.
It was a great game.
Both teams are
double
dead
overtime.
tired.
I mean, it was like 1-3 after another. And
overtime was beautiful. Yeah, everybody
well,
hitting threes left
and then they got to 128, and then nobody scored until the second overtime.
Then they were tired.
Right. But congratulations.
Thank you. We have the Magic twice our next 2 games are the Orlando Magic show. Another former Evan Fournier team. Hopefully he goes off against them as well.
Evan Fournier's revenge tour.
You've got a team. I think you've got a very good team.
We did that. If you would have told me that Jericho Sims was going to be the first rookie to get minutes this season, I would have lost a lot of money.
He played 7 minutes.
Yeah, but the other, like, he was
didn't
not.
score.
He was not supposed to. He was supposed to be in Westchester, for probably this entire season. It was supposed to be Deuce McBride and Quentin Grimes who get minutes, but since they were down both of their backup centers, they had to turn to Jericho Sims.
Toppin might be turning into something.
They had to teach him how to run when he first got to the league.
He can dunk.
He was 6 of 9, 14 points. He had a nice game.
I think they're all dunks.
He had one. Did he have a 3? He attempted a couple threes.
He was 0 for 3 from 3.
I say he attempted a couple threes.
6 of 6 for dunks.
Anyway,
he had a layup.
Yeah.
Also, Nebraska basketball had a few guys starting their season. Delano Banton's first career game.
Right.
And Isaiah Roby.
I think I've got it in here. With Delano being introduced last night. That was really cool.
Yeah, hometown kid.
Obviously, he's a hometown kid. He's from Toronto. He gets introduced. He hit a half-court shot last night. So congratulations to Delano. I think it's in here. This is his introduction last night.
Representing Rexdale, number 45, Delano Banton.
So, and then he ended up 3 of 4, 7 points last night. I think Roby had 8 points last night for OKC. So we've got guys in the NBA now.
It's happening again.
It's happening.
Which is huge because all my time growing up, well, after like Eric Strickland and Piatkowski retired, it was just Teron Lue. And then after Teron Lue retired, there was nobody.
That's right. Yeah, I was a little spoiled compared to you because I had Strickland, I had Pike, I had a little bit of Dave Hoppen. I had Mikey Moore.
Oh, yeah, Mikey Moore. Actually, Mikey Moore stuck around the league forever.
He did. He made like $30-something million in the league.
I bet he did.
And he played in Europe a long time and then finally got to the league. It took him forever to get to the NBA. I think there was one year where he led the NBA in field goal percentage because everything was a dunk.
I think I remember that too.
So, It was a good opening night for the Celtics, I think. Anyway, it's going to be a fun team to watch. I think the Knicks are really good, but I think the Celtics will be better than last year as well. Neither team looks like a team that's going to make a big run in the playoffs to me.
Yeah, I mean, you still have to worry about the teams that played last night. The opening night teams are usually the teams you care a little bit more for. But I think it's still somewhat wide open. I mean, the Nets, are they? There's a lot of dysfunction there with the Kyrie thing, and are they ever going to somewhat get along? And then the Bucks, they're not overwhelming, so it's a wide open NBA. Anybody can win it. Not anybody though. There's like 6 or 7 teams that can win it, and maybe the Knicks and Celtics are kind of borderline there or not.
Somebody wants to hear the half court shot. Should I play it?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is. I don't think we have it in. Do we have it in yet? I think we do have it in yet. This is what it sounded like last night. Delano Banton from half court.
Lets it fly. From Rackstown. Will that spark the Raptors? It has the building.
Okay, I'll do the unbleeped one. We're going to use it for Husker highlight trivia.
Yeah.
So if you're listening now, check back at 12:45 and hear this.
Delano lets it fly. Got it! From Rackstown. Will that spark the Raptors? It has the building.
It didn't spark the Raptors.
Yeah, spoiler alert. No.
It didn't spark the Raptors at all. They got killed by the Washington beat them last night, I believe. Bradley Beal, Bradley Beal had a good night, but Delano made a half-court shot, and he got a big introduction, and he's from Toronto. So if you're listening now, you've got the leg up on the rest of the listeners who are not listening. That could be our wingman.
And Banton wears number 45 because of a bus route in Toronto. So, I mean, he's really... I mean, it's just got a perfect,
I didn't know that.
Kind of set up. Yeah, I read that earlier today. So it's kind of all set up for everybody in Toronto to love him as long as he's good. I mean, he can't be very... If you're bad, then they'll just boo you out of the building.
If you're betting on Roby or Banton, where are you going to put your money at?
Oh, Roby is still, I think, but maybe Roby's kind of found his niche in the league.
Yeah.
Banton, I think you still have to kind of see it, and we'll see. I mean, if he can never develop that jump shot, which he did a lot more post Nebraska than he was at Nebraska, that was kind of the one ththing missing here that kind of stopped me from thinking he was going to be an NBA type of player. But he's there, and we'll see how he does.
They both struggle from three, so that's going to be the challenge for both of those guys. Roby's a much better athlete. Banton could survive just because he has the ball in his hand, as we've said. A poor man's Ben Simmons, if you will, and maybe just Ben Simmons now. I don't even know.
Ben Simmons isn't that bad. He's just an enigma. Nobody wants him because he just doesn't quite fit into the free flowing offense. And you can't have him, and he makes way too much. But he's coming off 3 straight All-Star games, so he's pretty solid.
But he was just kicked out of practice by Doc Rivers the other day, and who knows when he'll be back. Doc has challenged him to come back to the team and then, let bygones be bygones. I don't know what's going to happen.
And Joel Embiid said, "I don't care about that, dude."
That's right. I mean, the whole thing is, he said he wanted him back. He never wanted him back.
No,
he doesn't want him back at all. By the way, the Sixers won last night, so they didn't need him. Major League Baseball, you had Houston now up 3-2 after being down 2-1. They win again, 9-1 last night over your beloved Red Sox. Red Sox all of a sudden can't score a run and they can't pitch. Not a good combination.
Yeah, pitching was going to be a problem, and losing the one there with Chris Sale. I know he's coming off of injuries, but still, he's kind of the most highly regarded pitcher for the Red Sox. So that's a tough one. And obviously being up 2-1 in the series now down to 3-2, it's tough. And I think it all depended on a call from 2 nights ago where there should have been a strike before the big rally. But either way, it is what it is. You got to get back to work and rally it off, and hopefully they can get those bats going again. But it's looking like, and maybe, 3-2 is not.
That's not a big.
That's not huge. You just can't lose again.
Somebody's got to be up 3-2.
I'd rather be that than in the NL where the Braves are up 3-1.
That's right. The Braves are up 3-1 after a 9-2 win over LA last night. And LA and the Dodgers play again tonight, and Atlanta can take that series. It is in LA. So we'll see what happens there. Nebraska volleyball wins straight sets over Iowa. This is the second time they've beaten Iowa in straight sets, and now they've won 4 games in a row in straight sets. So
yeah,
Nebraska volleyball looking really good. I mean, they're 15-3 now, 9-0 in the league. I think that this is a team that can make a run in the NCAA tournament. Said it many times. Now that you've got Stivrins and Caffey, who hasn't been playing a lot as of late, but even if Caffey doesn't play, you have Swartz and Bock. They call her Swartz and Block. In the middle, you have the outside hitters. Obviously, Maddie Kubek is playing great. Another 13 kills last night. She was I think Big Ten Player of the Year twice in a row.
Player of the week.
Player of the week. Not of the year, of the week, twice in a row. And then, you're getting the freshmen coming on. Krause on one side, Batenhorst really starting to play well. It'd be great to see Lonstein come on. I know that she's really talented. The back row is really good. Love Rodriguez. I think Akana is a really good player. I mean, you've got some really good players on this team, and great players, obviously the number one recruiting class in the country, and it's starting to come together for Nebraska volleyball. So good stuff there. On the shoot today, Mitch Sherman of The Athletic. We'll talk some Nebraska football, although no football this week. He's always writing something about Nebraska football. Robin Washut, we'll talk a little Husker football and a little Husker basketball with him. The name you keep hearing is Wilhelm Breidenbach, and I think it is Breidenbach, not Bradenbach. What Fred Hoiberg said about him yesterday really stuck out. Like, he does everything well. You look at him, and we were saying this before the show. He looks like a guy that's like in your Y League. Like, he's got the goggles, he's got the beard.
Other than the 6'10" thing.
Yeah. Well, I've seen some guys that, I played with a guy, at Lloyd Phelps, 6'10", great player, but ended up in a Y League because he had some other things that were off the court. This is not the case with Breidenbach. I mean, he's the real deal. He does everything well, but I don't think he's the most athletic guy in the world. And you look at his body and you don't think, wow, world-class athlete. A guy that I think at some point can probably play in the NBA, passes the ball well, high 4-star, borderline 5-star.
Yeah, top 100 type of guy.
Top 100 guy. He's going to get a lot more minutes than you thought maybe originally when he was recruited. Apparently, when Derek Walker went down with an illness last month, he stepped in with the first team and just does everything well. He along with, I would say, Alonzo Verge are getting big reviews. You already knew about Bryce McGowan's.
Yeah.
But it's just another reason to be excited about Husker basketball.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, the biggest thing that stuck out to me was Coach Hoiberg saying he was very impressed and likes to give as much praise as he can to Breidenbach. Talking about those stepping in with the ones, basically saying they didn't miss a beat. He was really impressed, and that's that kind of gives you an idea of that. For one thing, there are ones. Maybe there's a starting lineup figured out, and for another thing, that Derek Walker's in there, which we presumed, but you kind of wonder what the backup big man type of rotation is going to look like. Is Eduardo Andre taking enough of a step that he can kind of play significant minutes? Is Breidenbach going to step in there and as a freshman play big minutes? And I think he will. I still expect, I think out of everyone, and we asked this question the other day to a guest, you kind of understand who's Nebraska's best player, who's going to be the leading scorer this year. I think Alonzo Verge would be my pick.
I think that's an excellent pick. And Nebraska, quite frankly, very lucky to get him. When Delano Banton stayed in the NBA draft, we talked about this before, he was a very late addition. What was it, June or July?
Yeah.
That Nebraska added Alonzo Verge, the transfer from Arizona State, because at that point, he was in all of these camps looking at the NBA, and there were signs that he would be in the G League right now, that he would be making $100,000 a year to play professional basketball. He decided, no, I think I can do better than that. One more year of college basketball. Banton stays in the draft, gets drafted. Verge ends up at Nebraska from Arizona State, the 6th man of the year in the entire Pac-12. And he's a guy that now is handling the basketball, which he didn't at Arizona State.
Which might be part of the sell was, hey, we need a guy that's going to hold the point guard and show that you can be the primary point guard.
And you mentioned this. I think that while Banton might be the better NBA draft pick or prospect down the road, and we'll see, Verge is the better college guy.
Yeah. It's already done. Ben's career's over. Verge has been a sixth man of the year. It's done. The argument there. So, hopefully it just ends on a good note too with what Verge can do at Nebraska. But again, I mean, I think between, some other people would say Trey McGowan's, could be the best player this year. I just think that they, whether with those guys, kind of like Trey McGowan's and Latmain and Derek Walker, they kind of had to play those primary roles to be the big, and I think that they can do it at times, but there's going to be a lot less pressure taken or a lot less pressure on them to take those big shots, to be those guys in those moments because of the more of the talent that they have around them this year as compared to last year.
464-5685, Honda of Lincoln hotline, Sutter Heyman text line. This from the text line, suggestion for a nickname for, of course, Goggles. I like Goggles already. Wilhelm Breidenbach. The next fundamental, you like that?
Instead of the big fundamental, yeah.
The next fundamental.
I like that because he's gonna play some good fundamental basketball.
Yeah, I like Goggles. I think Goggles will catch on because he wears goggles, and you can just call him Goggles. The thing that I get excited about, and Frederick Frank sends this in, the shooters that you now have. When you space the floor with Fred Hoiberg, you have to space the floor with shooters. Otherwise, his offense doesn't work. And that's a big reason why his offense hasn't worked in the first 2 years. You couldn't trust anybody consistently to make shots. But now you've got Keisei Tamanaga. You got Alonzo Verge, who's more of a mid-range guy than a three-point shooter, but he can shoot the three. Lat Mayon at 6'9" can really shoot it. Keon Edwards, I wonder if he'll break into that top 8 rotation, top 9 rotation, but he can shoot it. Bryce McGowan's can certainly shoot it, and then you've got Kobe Webster at 6 feet who can definitely shoot the basketball. That's what excites me, and Breidenbach obviously can shoot the basketball. You've got just guys who can score in general. But if you have three-point shooters, this offense can work. If you don't, I don't think Hoiberg's offense can work. Like Tim Miles' offense would not work because he never had shooters. He had Walter Pitchford. That was about it.
Andrew White III that 1 year.
1 year. 1 year. It was.
I still go back and think about what if Teran Petaway would have stayed his senior season and teamed up with Andrew White III. just for that 1 year.
Does that wake you up at night?
Yes, that still gets me upset. That still upsets me.
You don't get up, at 3:00 in the morning thinking about, what's my retirement going to look like? I've got a brand new family. Can I provide for them? No. You don't think about. That's typical Bock. He gets up at 3:00 in the morning thinking about Nebraska basketball. That's what he does.
They could do UNIT that year, damn it.
It's going to be a good show. We will have lots of Nebraska basketball talk with Robin Washut. We'll probably kick it off with that. No game this week, so that's probably where we're headed anyway. But Scott Frost did have some things to say yesterday about his team, and we'll ask Robin about that coming up next on Tom and Bock.
Download our app by searching 93.7 A Ticket in your app store to stay in touch and listen all day long wherever you are. This is Tom and Bock.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back.
Sure. Sauter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SauterHeyman.com.
Happer and Shaper.
The concern to me is, what does it tell you if when the circumstances are as good as they can get for Scott Frost and this staff, and you're still 3-5 after those 8 games?
Yep.
And I don't care, like, so much of the Bo
I don't know.
Pelini.
There are a lot of people who think you just pull out Adrian and Nebraska goes 8-4.
And I don't think that's true either.
It's definitely not.
I don't care for this part of the conversation either.
Weekday mornings from 8 to 11 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
If you want to make new floor shopping easier, come to Oak Street Carpet. Hi, I'm Steve Carper. Our flooring professionals can help you choose the best flooring for you, your family, and your budget. We eliminate the confusion. even better, you'll be enjoying your new flooring much sooner. No 6 or 8 week waits. We'll install right away and save you money on installation. Floor shopping made easy every day at O Street Carpet.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
Your home should not be a zoo to unwelcomed animals. Let the experts at Bats to Rats take care of those problems. Dane has been a leader in wildlife and pest management and prevention in Lincoln and the surrounding area for 15 years. He can help you get rid of bats, rodents, and anything else. Whether it's residential or commercial buildings, schools, apartments, or churches, they're always a phone call away. Call today at 402-310-0904 or visit batsterats.com. Bats to Rats Wildlife Control and Prevention.
The hottest rookies, the biggest superstars, the all-time greats. There's only one place to collect them all, Panini Trading Cards. As the exclusive trading card partner of the NFL and the NFLPA, Panini America utilizes iconic brands like Donruss and Contenders, delivering instant classic trading cards of the most popular players. For autograph cards, memorabilia, rare inserts, and rookie cards, there's something for everyone in Panini America packs. Start or continue your collection today at PaniniAmerica.net.
Guys, we need to talk about a problem plaguing our society today: chronic fruitcake slander. Now, maybe you're thinking, I've had fruitcake. It's dry and heavy. Well, I'm here to tell you that you're eating the wrong fruitcake, because Grandma's fruitcake is anything but. Their recipe uses the highest quality fruits, hand-sorted nuts, and adds the perfect amount of brandy, bourbon, and rum. Their desserts are known and loved across the country, and they're made right here in Southeast Nebraska. If you haven't tried them yet, you're missing out. Grandma's Fruitcake from Beatrice Bakery. Welcome to our world of yum.
Hi, Andy Neal of Cartridge World. We are not a big box store that sells everything and specializes in nothing. Cartridge World is your local expert when it comes to streamlining office printing and scanning. No big box can match our proven no-cost lease program. We customize solutions that supply you with multifunction printers and all the required service just for buying Cartridge World ink and toner at a 30% savings. Call for a no-cost consultation, 464-3455, or go online to cartridgeworld.com.
Want a free pair of Nebraska football tickets? Head to theticketfm.com's contest tab and register for a free pair of tickets each week of a home game, courtesy of Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group of Woods Brothers and 93.7 The Ticket. Back to Tom and Bock on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back, Tom and Bock. On a Thursday, Fred Hoiberg did speak to the media, I believe it was yesterday, talking about Nebraska basketball. And one of the guys that he talked in length about was Wilhelm Breidenbach. And it's a good time to bring in Robin Washut of HuskerOnline.com. What in particular stood out to you about what he said about Breidenbach? Because there's been a lot of hype. But one moment, there he's still calling him. Still waiting on Robin Washut of HuskerOnline.com. I want to talk about the basketball team in general. The other thing that stood out to me, Bock, yesterday was, making the simple play, and then Hoiberg talking in length about, the beating on each other. Like, because basketball practice has extended. Now you're talking about weeks and weeks of preseason, where it didn't used to always be that way. As we welcome in Robin Washut of HuskerOnline.com. Are you okay?
Yeah.
I heard stuff tumbling in the background. I was worried about your safety. Robin Washut joins.
Those were dishes being rinsed. Sorry for the clanging.
One of the things that stood out from Fred Hoiberg's presser yesterday was the length of time now they have together. The offseason has kind of been extended over the years, and they're kind of beating on each other. They're really ready to get to the exhibition season, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, especially when you compare it to what they had last year, where they had hardly any time together whatsoever and basically just got thrown into on the court and started playing games right off the jump with very little preparation. So this has been a pretty stark contrast in that regard. But, also just it is extended in the sense that guys have been here since June 1. The majority of the team has been here, and, they've really been able to develop on the court and more importantly off of it. I think that's been probably the most beneficial thing of all is, while they do return a good chunk of last year's roster, or at least production, they still are adding a lot of new pieces that need to kind of gel together as players and teammates and people. And so they've done a good job, I think, of accomplishing a lot of that. There's obviously some stuff as far as in-game adversity and just the natural grind of a full season that we won't know how they're going to respond until they actually get out and do it. But I think as far as what the opportunities they've had so far this summer and on to the fall, they've really made the most of it. And just talking to every single player, they are more than ready to play a game. They've been talking about playing a game for what seems like a year and a half now, because they actually get to do it now in front of fans. These guys are chomping at the bit. Whether it's Peru State or Duke, they're ready to get out there and play somebody else for one.
Well, I think it's interesting. A lot of the roster, a lot of returning guys, so people know some of those guys and the high-profile guys. But out of these three names, who do you think will have the biggest impact? Karan McPherson, Keon Edwards, or C.J. Wilcher?
Well, I would put McPherson as probably the clear third on that list. I think his minutes are going to be probably harder to come by, especially as the level of competition increases, and that's natural just because he's a true freshman. Whereas, those other two guys, they're freshmen, but they've played high major college basketball, so they've got a little bit of a experience leg up on them. I think CJ is going to be a primary piece off the bench, and I think Keon is going to be a primary piece off the bench. So it's really 1A, 1B with those two, in my opinion. They both play very different roles. CJ is going to be one of the primary perimeter shooters that comes in. Right up there with, Keisei Tominaga. You'll probably see some sort of minute share with those two. And right now, just because he's a little bit better of a defender and a little bit more physical, I'd probably give a minute edge right now to CJ over Keisei. But that can obviously change. And then with Keon, he's a shooter in his own right, but his length, particularly on the defensive end, is something that they really don't have a lot of, or at least what he brings to the table. So I think he's going to have a role in that regard. When they play bigger, longer opponents, having him out on the perimeter is going to be really important, especially with the pack defense they play. Rotations defensively to be able to close out on shooters are really important. When you have a guy that's really active and that long out there defending the three-point line, that's a real advantage with the style of defense Nebraska runs. So I think Keon's going to get plenty of minutes in his own right, and really it's how you break up those minutes is anyone's guess right now, including Fred Hoiberg.
Robin Washington of HuskerOnline.com. We ask this question all the time because I think it's going to change throughout the season. Who's the best player on this team? And maybe the most talented player is Bryce McGowan's, but who is the best player in your mind?
Yeah, Bryce clearly has the highest ceiling. I don't know if anybody's going to argue that. But as far as, Big Ten ready to play, I'd probably put, his brother Trey, Alonzo Verge, right up at the top of that list as maybe your two top candidates for that title. Obviously, Trey was kind of one of the heart and soul pieces of the team last year, especially when they kind of flipped the switch and started playing their best basketball at the end of the year. When he kind of took control of the team, that's when things really started to click. So I put a lot of value in him on both ends of the floor and with his leadership. And then with Alonzo Verge, the only reason I hesitate with him is just because I haven't seen him play at Nebraska yet. We know what he did at Arizona State. He had a really decorated career there, has had a lot of hype, even on the national level, for what he could bring to the table this season. But there's still an element of unknown in terms of how he's going to fit at Nebraska. I expect big things from him, but until you actually see it, it's hard to know exactly what. So right now, if I have to give that title as far as the best player in terms of talent, leadership, and experience, I'm going to go Trey McGowan.
A month from now, of course, Nebraska will have played 5 games, including the Creighton game. How do you think Nebraska matches up against their rivals this year? I mean, I would think that one should be one that Nebraska should expect to win, considering Creighton has to replace everybody.
Yeah, I would imagine, assuming nothing crazy happens between now and then, that Nebraska will be favored. Maybe a slight favorite, but the home court advantage, I think, is going to be a significant X factor in that game. Creighton basically replaces everybody from last year's roster, but they brought in a lot of good players. They had a top 5 recruiting class. And so, it's just a matter of when that group starts to click, because the talent is certainly there for them to be very good this season, but the timing of this game and the fact that it's in Lincoln could not have worked out any better for Nebraska in terms of giving them a great opportunity to finally snap the streak against Creighton. So, like I said, I think they'll be favored, and that home court advantage is going to be a big reason why. And the fact that, this is a Nebraska team that for once has the element of, cohesiveness and experience together over Creighton, where Creighton's usually the team that's played, 5 years together. Now it's kind of, the script has kind of been flipped a little bit, and I think that's going to be a big advantage, with that being the third game of the schedule for both teams in Nebraska's favor.
He's Robin Washut of HuskerOnline.com, our weekly conversation. Interesting was some of the comments yesterday from Hoiberg on Wilhelm Breidenbach. He said that Wilhelm came in because Derek Walker got sick last month and played with the first team and played at a really high level. And he's really a guy that's so versatile because he could score, pass, and defend at a pretty high level, along with shoot the basketball. And he also mentioned that he could be a 4 or a 5. Could you see Derek Walker and Wilhelm Breidenbach playing together?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I think depending on, the competition, maybe early the season, not as much, because I think Wilhelm's plenty big enough to be the 5 against some of those mid-major opponents. But when you turn the calendar to December and, that run of high major competition starts coming up, and then, Big Ten play, I think that's when you'll see Wilhelm play a little bit more of the 4. So I would honestly think that when they get to, conference play, high major play, you'll see Derek Walker, Eduardo Andre split primarily, and then a Wilhelm Latmayan split at the 4. But, they're interchangeable. Wilhelm can play the 5, especially against lineups that, when they don't have Kofi Coburn or Hunter Dickinson or Zach Edey or whatever, I think he's going to have plenty of opportunities to play the 5. And when he's at the 5 and you pair him with, hypothetically, Verge and McGowan's and Latmayan, that is a ton of offensive firepower. Any one of those guys can knock down a 3. Any one of those guys can beat people off the dribble, and that is a matchup nightmare for opposing teams. So they will look at him at the 5, but I think, again, as just the level of competition and the size of opposing front court increases, he'll probably have more of a role as a 4, with Walker and Andre playing more of the true 5 spot.
Now transitioning to football, a little bit of basketball here too with it, is that Scott Frost was kind of talking about the other day how Nebraska is going to have to use the transfer portal. Of course, that was something that Hoiberg was known for at Iowa State, and now that it's a few years later at Nebraska, everybody's going to be using that. Do you think a similar thing in football, where even the top schools that are even getting top 5 recruiting classes are still going to want to go out there and get guys that have played Power 5 type of football before and blend them in more so than in the past? I mean, because you think about years ago, people used to criticize Bill Snyder for hanging on to the JUCOs too much, and not having your 4-year players. But I think that the way the game's changing in football is that it's almost going to catch, probably not quite as basketball because of the roster sizes, but it's going to be pretty darn important.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be like basketball, maybe not as much, but to the point now where you're a fool if you don't take full advantage of the transfer portal because of the level of talent, the ready-made talent that's available there. And, it's just kind of the nature of collegiate athletics now. Sometimes it just doesn't work. And in the past, players had no leverage, and they just had to stick it out and try to make the most of their situation. Whereas now, there's no penalty to transfer, and you can go find a place where not only you feel more comfortable and it fits you and your personality, but you can have the opportunity to play right away, and vice versa. Programs can look for players that are extremely talented that can come in and fill immediate needs and be instant impact type players. And so it's a win-win in a lot of different ways. Nebraska's already kind of hit the portal, relatively hard and had some hits. Samari Toure is a prime example of, a transfer that's really worked out well. Travis Vokalek is another guy. They've had some misses, obviously, but that's just kind of the nature of recruiting in general, whether it's high school, JUCO, or or transfer portal. So, especially when you look at this class that Nebraska has and their roster, I mean, they're already loaded because of that COVID year with freshman, sophomore eligible players. I think they have like 50 some already on the roster. So they don't necessarily need to get young. What they need is guys that are going to help them get over the hump right now, looking ahead to next season. And transfer portal is a perfect opportunity to do that, which I think right now they have roughly 4 or 5 spots remaining in their 22 class as it stands right now. And I would imagine the majority of those will be filled by transfer type players that, can, like as Frost said, help. They're so close right now. Maybe those are the types of guys that can help put them over the top.
And some of it, Robin, might have to do with culture. There's been a lot of talk about culture this week because of what PJ Fleck said after the game against Minnesota, that it was culture beating skill. And maybe Scott Frost is intimating that a little bit. I mean, they're going to lose a lot of super seniors who have helped build the culture. And we've seen what Michigan State has been able to do, bringing in 15 transfers. Is that part of it, you think, that it helps build your culture with more experienced guys?
Sometimes it's got to be the right guy, though. And when it comes to culture, you gotta find the right type of people, not just the right type of players. And so I think that's one thing that Frost and staff have done really well. Whether they've been successful players or not, more often than not, the level of transfers, the types of transfers they're bringing in are guys that improve their locker room, or at least give them the type of personalities that they're looking for, to help kind of set the tone for the culture of their program. And so that's the thing, though, with the portal is you don't get as much time to evaluate these kids. The process of recruitment is so much shorter, whereas with high school kids, you're recruiting kids over several years, whereas portal, it's sometimes a couple weeks. So you got to be pretty sure about the player and the person you're bringing in when you do go through the portal, just because your knowledge and background on these guys are oftentimes pretty limited compared to the high school route.
I'm fascinated what the kind of atmosphere is going to be like next time Nebraska lines up. Of course, a huge gut punch loss to Minnesota took a lot of the air out of the sails of the program, and now they have kind of the buy one get one thing going on. But still, that's just a few thousand. I mean, the majority of the people are ready to go. I would have believed there, and it could be against a top 25 type of Purdue team. Do you expect kind of a packed house, or do you expect a little bit of a kind of a different look just because of how big of a loss it felt like that Minnesota one was?
I don't know. Nebraska fans have turned out for much more dire situations than this. I know apathy is, abundant right now, especially with the very loud vocal minority. But I think by and large, the Nebraska football games are more than just what's happening that particular week in that particular game of that particular season. It's an event, it's a tradition, and people are going to go. And especially, some people are going to give up their tickets, but there's going to be 50 other people waiting to snatch those up, on the secondary market. So I mean, won't be like the most raucous environment like we've seen the previous 2 home games, but it'll be fine. I'm not expecting there to be like wide open sections of empty seats or anything like that. But Nebraska's got to come out and play well. If they go out and get off to a fast start like they did against Northwestern, they'll get the crowd behind them, and they'll have just as much home field advantage as they always do. But as we've seen in the past, if they do sputter a little bit, then the murmurs start to creep and the groans and that kind of anxious feeling starts to cloud around the stadium, and that's when the environment can start to turn on you. But if Nebraska does what it's supposed to do, I think I'm not too worried about what that home field advantage is going to be like on Saturday or next Saturday.
I feel like I have a better feeling for the mood of the fans than I do the mood of the team. This team this team has not given in. I mean, if you to say one thing about this team, the effort in the first half against Minnesota wasn't great, but you haven't seen a team that has just mailed it in, similar to some teams we saw with Mike Riley. Have you gotten that feeling as well, just being around the coaches and the players?
I mean, they continue to say all the right things, and I guess that's a start. They at least are presenting the right body language and the right comments during the week and after games. But the performance in the first half to start that Minnesota game was concerning in the sense that so much was riding on that game, and that's what they came out with. And then the comments afterwards where guys weren't awake and they had to, kind of get after each other to pick up the intensity a little bit. Like, that's kind of been a theme for far too long under this, this Frost tenure here, where they get up for the games that they're supposed to, but don't get it for the games that they're supposed to win. And then they end up losing those games and look really bad in the process because they're not dialed in mentally the way that they might be for other games. And so figuring that out is going to go a long way in fixing a lot of the problems that they're having right now. If you're not mentally focused just to start a game, regardless of the opponent, your performance is going to be, as Tim Miles used to say, the EKG, where you're going to have dramatic highs and really embarrassing lows. And like I said, that's been a theme for far too long around here. And clearly what we saw last time out, it's still very much a problem with this program.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting next month or so. We'll find out more as the season moves along, but a bye week this week. Good stuff from Robin Washut of HuskerOnline.com. Thanks for the time, Robin. We'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good, guys. See you later.
Robin Washut of HuskerOnline.com, and we'll be talking Husker hoops in full bore within a week or so, because the first exhibition game, October 27th against Peru State, and then October 31st against Colorado. So really excited about Husker basketball. Let's get to break. Come back with the blog jog. We'll do it next.
You're listening to Tom and Bock. Watch live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch.
Welcome to Friendly Neighbors. Welcome to maintenance-free living. Welcome to Carriage Glen. Welcome home. It's everything you'd want in an active 55-plus rental community right here in Lincoln. Spacious floor plans, numerous amenities, beautiful surroundings near Holmes Lake, and much more. Plus, with Carriage Glen's current move-in special, you can save thousands if you act now. Carriage Glen invites you to take a personal tour or visit them online at carriageglenoflincoln.com. Discover the place you'll love to call home.
Are you dragging through each day? Most people are dehydrated or deficient in essential vitamins, minerals, and more. Live Hydration Spa helps you get more out of your life with their IV hydration treatments to help with anti-aging, weight loss, endurance, and more. Their performance packages can help you feel better doing your normal daily routine with boosts of energy and vitality, an increase in immunity, and quicker athletic recovery. Call today for an appointment at 402-413-2042 or walk in at 71st and Pioneers. Live Hydration Spa.
Your home should not be a zoo to unwelcomed animals. Let the experts at Bats to Rats take care of those problems. Dane has been a leader in wildlife and pest management and prevention in Lincoln and the surrounding area for 15 years. He can help you get rid of bats, rodents, and anything else. Whether it's residential or commercial buildings, schools, apartments, or churches, they're always a phone call away. Call today at 402-310-0904 or visit batsterats.com. Bats to Rats Wildlife Control and Prevention.
It's time to carve out good savings at Supreme Spa and Pool, above ground pools. Now from $29.99, Stella, the world's strongest semi-in-ground pool
with a lifetime transferable warranty
from $69.99. Book now. In-ground pool packages from $29.99.
Installed this year.
Cash and carry spas from $39.99.
Ready for immediate pickup
with a free water care kit. Carve out good savings at SupremeSpaAndPool.com.
Breakfast tacos, brisket tacos, pork tacos, chicken tacos. You hungry yet? I can keep going. Pork or chicken, queso nachos, queso mac and cheese, hatch mac burritos. Now you're salivating. Muchachos is Lincoln's premier New Mexico barbecue fusion restaurant. You can't miss them in their bright blue building. Pair that great food with delicious coffee for breakfast and a variety of local and national beers on tap the rest of the day. Order your food online at yomuchacho.com or visit them in person at Muchachos on South 11th Street between L and K Streets.
Allo Business customers get more than just fast, reliable connections. They get service and support to meet all their voice, data, and TV needs. Because supporting your business is our business. Allo delivers peace of mind with a 100% fiber network, hosted PBX solutions, redundancy protection, and best-in-class service to back it all up. To get your free quote and switch today, visit allofiber.com/workfast or call 402-480-6685. That's 402-480-6685.
Are you dragging through each day? Most people are dehydrated or deficient in essential vitamins, minerals, and more. Live Hydration Spa helps you get more out of your life with their IV hydration treatments to help with anti-aging, weight loss, endurance, and more. Their performance packages can help you feel better doing your normal daily routine with boosts of energy and vitality, an increase in immunity, and quicker athletic recovery. Call today for an appointment at 402-413-2042 or walk in at 71st and Pioneers. Live Hydration Spa.
With today's Husker Radio Report, I'm Sean Callahan of HuskerOnline.com. A lot of questions about this Nebraska football team and just where their overall psyche is after this 3-5 start. We talked to head coach Scott Frost on Wednesday, first time since his team's loss at Minnesota Saturday.
I don't think this is going to happen with this team. In years past, I think it might have happened. This team, there's no quit in these guys. They came to work yesterday. They came to work today. That's been improving. Can't tell you how far that's come, just the attitude and culture in the locker room. I'm not worried about that. The guys will come fight.
Frost also updated the status of his quarterback, Adrian Martinez, who played last week, apparently with an ankle injury.
I think there'll be a time when I can talk about the things that he's been dealing with, but he came out of the game clean, so he's going to be as healthy as he's been in several weeks, week from Saturday.
Huskers practice both Tuesday and Wednesday. Now they're off until Sunday. Reporting here with the Nebraska football team in Lincoln, I'm Sean Callahan of HuskerOnline.com. Hi, Sean Callahan here. In 2013, I first came across Koppel Chevrolet GMC in Louisville, and I've been a customer ever since. What's kept me coming back to Koppel is the people. Oftentimes, owner Bob Koppel and his son Brandon are right there with you in the showroom, walking you through the process. There's no runaround at Koppel. It's a hardworking Nebraska company built on honest, small-town values. So make that short drive to Louisville or visit them online at koppelcars.com.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back.
Sutter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SutterHeyman.com.
Grab yourself a hot dog, pour a glass of eggnog, and settle in. This is the Blog Shop on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Rico is here. He's gloating. He's a happy man. The Knicks beat the Celtics in double overtime, 138-134 last night. I don't think you have a great team, but I don't think we do either. I think you might have a playoff team, though.
How is that not a great team?
A great team wins championships.
No, a championship team wins championships.
A great Knicks team. How about that?
A great team makes the playoffs and makes some noise in the playoffs.
I thought it was funny their pregame package. They're talking about the 75th year that the Knicks and Celtics were playing, and they go, well, and if you ask which fan base, there's different opinions on which team has been better, but the Celtics have won more than 100 games more than the Knicks head-to-head and have 15 more championships. Back to you. It's kind of like,
but who's better?
Yeah.
Who's better after game one? After game one, who's better? Well, the Knicks are better right now.
It's New York, obviously.
In double overtime.
Yeah.
Shouldn't even have gone into overtime.
I was happy for Spike last night, some of the celebrities that were there.
There's a lot of celebrities there.
Yeah, there are a lot of celebrities there.
Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, there you go. It was all good. It was congratulations.
I didn't know that your head coach's wife was Nia Long. So
yeah, that's kind of cool.
That's cool.
The girlfriend from Fresh Prince.
Yeah, that's right.
How I know her.
Yeah, that's pretty.
I think they're engaged. I don't know if they're married.
Slightly jealous.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's they're doing well. The celebrities
he's doing well for himself.
He's doing okay. He's coaching in the NBA.
He's coaching in the NBA. He's married to Nia Long. No big deal.
Yep, she's pretty good. Let's get to Blog Jog.
Okay, this one comes from somewhere in France. I don't know because it is in French.
Can you read it?
I can. It's translated to English. It's probably not great English, but it's translated to English. There were twins that were pursued by police, and when they were arrested, they swapped places. However, they were both extremely drunk and had the same blood alcohol level, so it didn't matter.
It didn't really matter. Twins will be twins.
So did one get in trouble? One got in trouble
No,
for a
because
DUI.
they had pulled them over, gone up to the car, found out they were drunk, and they went back. And when they went back up,
Oh,
They
okay.
they
switched.
switched places, and they were like, "You're both drunk. I don't know why you're. What's going on here?"
Now one gets arrested for DUI and the other one gets arrested
Yeah.
for impersonating. Or
Exactly.
whatever. Yeah.
Did you have friends that were identical twins growing up? Because I could always, once you get to know them, you know immediately which one you're talking to.
I didn't have identical. I just had twin friends, but they weren't identical.
They weren't identical.
Yeah.
Steve and Paul Johnson used to come over, and I like one would come over sometimes without the other. We'd play a lot of basketball in the driveway, and sometimes it'd say Steve and it was Paul, or Paul when it was Steve. But once you get to know them, in fact, there were like 3 sets of twins in our neighborhood, so we
I think-
always had games going.
Twins are kind of weird. Like Marcus and Markeith Morris, I think, still share a bank account.
That's weird.
It's weird. They're like we're not going one place without
They're
the other.
they're like extreme twins where they're like, we want to play like on the same team. We want like they want to be together.
They go around and beat
Right.
people up together.
It's necessary. It's necessary.
But now Marcus Morris made like a lot
Right.
more money than Markeith, so he's got to get his new bank account.
That's
He's got to
true.
get a different one.
Yeah, you've
Separate
gotta-
that money.
That's very weird that you would share a bank
Yeah.
account. Like if one twin picks a school, you gotta. Did they go to school together?
Yeah,
they
we
did.
did.
They went to school together. So I mean, it would be very unusual for twins to go to different schools, right?
Yeah, I think
In most cases, they're really close.
if it were me, I'd just want to branch off at some point. Just like
I would
geez,
too.
I've
but
been we've been together
I'd like
for
to go
18
to
years.
I'd like to go to college with my twin. That'd
Yeah.
be fun.
You'd like to have a twin, and then you'd like to go
Yeah.
to college with them.
Well, I joked around with my track coach in college. I said, "What if I was a twin?" And he said, "Dear God, no." So
I don't think the world
Probably-
could take more than one
probably not.
Rico.
Yeah.
He probably wouldn't have recruited me.
What else you got?
This one comes from The Guardian. In Egypt, a thief broadcasts his face to thousands of people after snatching a journalist's phone during a live report.
I don't know what. Well, usually I'm saying criminals are being stupid by putting themselves online, but he
Right.
did this kind of in the action.
Just
This
a
was the
dumb
whole.
crank. He stole it and he didn't realize it was live, and he
Oh.
was just like on his face, and he's like looking behind him. And people in the comments are like, "I don't know why you're looking behind you. We can all see who you are." He was arrested shortly after. Tried to deny it, and then was like, and then they said, "We have your face on live camera." He goes, "Oh, I
Yeah.
did it."
If you're going to be a thief these days, you gotta have a disguise because there's cameras everywhere, right?
Yeah.
If
Like
you're gonna
Clark
be-
Kent, just put on some glasses and nobody could tell.
That's
who
right.
you
Fake
are.
face.
That's right.
It'll work.
Well, no, you get one of those old Nixon masks. Like,
Oh,
they
yeah,
used
that
to-
would be good, yeah.
That'd be really good. Then nobody'd know.
It's Halloween season. Just go get
That's
any
right.
mask.
Yeah, around the Halloween season, I wonder if crime is up because of that.
Well, that's
Everybody
what
has a mask.
People thought at the beginning, like when COVID was happening and everybody had to wear face masks, they're like, crime is going to skyrocket, and it really didn't.
It really should have, but people didn't.
They're like,
think of it.
everybody's wearing masks, and we're like,
Right.
okay, so
Like, right now you go up to your banker and you say, "Give me a couple $100," and they're gonna, not even think twice that you're wearing a mask.
be like, oh, okay, whatever.
Well,
Oh,
give
yeah.
me your
'Cause
card here.
Has this
Do you have
happened
your
to you?
ID?
Has this happened to you a lot in COVID? Like, hey, Tom, and you're wearing a mask. Like, they know even though you're wearing a mask.
Oh yeah, you can tell who it is.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
But
some people you just know.
I know that, and that's happened to me a lot with the mask on. But if you were to look at a lineup and say, identify the man, they're all wearing masks, and you said, no, that's that guy.
Well,
I think
I
maybe
was-
we're better now at identifying masked men.
I was told I went to
Probably much
go.
better.
I went to go mail some stuff at the post office the other day, and I had my mask on, obviously. And the lady asked me how old I was because I said something about my wife, and I was like, "Why?" And she said, "Well, you look like you're in high school, but then you said something about your wife." And I go, "No, I turn 28 next month." She goes, "I would not have guessed that."
Even with the beard, you both look. Of course, once you get older, everybody looks extremely young. I can't. I think the older you can't tell ages. But you get carded
Well,
all the
it's
time.
because I had the mask on, so she couldn't see the beard.
Yeah.
It was just
Yeah.
it was just the eyes, and she was just like, "Oh, you look like you're in high school." And I was like, "I don't know if that's a compliment or not."
I was at a casino over the weekend, and it says if you're under 30, we're going to card you.
Oh yeah.
You guys both look under 30.
Did you get carded?
No.
No.
But I did.
Sure?
I did up
Maybe you
until
dye your hair a little.
What do you
up
like?
until the age of 40. I was getting carded.
What are you like, 25?
Yeah, 26.
Yeah.
26.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
All right, Rico, we need a 20-second story.
Officials are using contraceptives to control Pablo Escobar's cocaine hippos.
Wow.
That's exactly what we're looking
That's
for.
a great story.
I don't even want to know the rest of the story.
There you go.
Let's get to break. Come back with the box tops. We'll do it next.
Download our app by searching 93.7 The Ticket in your app store to stay in touch and listen all day long wherever you are. This is Tom and Bock.
Time to replace your heating and air system? Get local utility rebates and big cash discounts from Bryant. Call 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning and Heating. We do whatever it takes.
My part-time service in the Army National Guard makes it possible for me to be more for the community I call home. I'm a better neighbor because my service has taught me how important it is to be a team player. My training helps me in my classes when I give attention to detail to the task at hand. My service also allows me to be there for my community in ways others can't. I help my hometown recover after nature strikes. My service in the Army National Guard allows me to keep my country and those I care about safe from threats. I also work with a network of professionals that help me succeed. Also, the Army National Guard's education benefits make getting a higher education a reality. Being an Army National Guard soldier makes living and serving in my community more rewarding every day. Learn more about how you too can live and serve part-time close to home by visiting NationalGuard.com.
Sponsored by the Nebraska Army National Guard. Aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association at this station.
Angry about a recent Nebraska football loss? Go throw axes at Kraft Axe Throwing. Optimistic about the upcoming Nebraska football game? Go sign up for free football tickets at Kraft Axe Throwing. Bring some friends, reserve a bay for an hour or more, release anger at the targets by hucking an axe at it, and walk away feeling better about yourselves and the football season, just in time to enter for a chance to win a free pair of tickets to the next home game as you walk out the door. Reserve your lane online at craftaxethrowing.com or call 402-802-9696. Kraft Axe Throwing at 18th and N in Lincoln. Experiencing increased body fat, low sex drive, lack of energy, or general fatigue? Vitalize Health offers testosterone replacement therapy and peptide therapy to boost hormone levels and build muscle mass. Call Vitalize Health today at 402-413-0717 or go online to vitalizehealthne.com.
Right now, Allstate has almost as many ways to save as there are types of music. Save for being a new customer. Save more for adding DriveWise. And save even more for driving safely. Visit Allstate.com or contact your local agent to get a quote. Find out how much you can save today. Allstate. Now that should be music to your ears.
Not available in every state. New customer savings based on early signing discount. DriveWise is an optional feature. Savings vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms and conditions. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
When everything is changing, you need a store that's a constant. A store that has the brands your family loves and the value that you need. A store where you can stock up, pick up, and drive up. A store that's close to home and feels like home. A store that puts the health and safety of you and your family above all else. And a store that's always here to help. At Kohl's, we don't know what next year will look like. We just know that we'll be here for you no matter what. Kohl's, here today, here to stay. See store or Kohls.com for details.
Breakfast tacos, brisket tacos, pork tacos, chicken tacos. You hungry yet? I can keep going. Pork or chicken, queso nachos, queso mac and cheese, hatch mac burritos. Now you're salivating. Muchachos is Lincoln's premier New Mexico barbecue fusion restaurant. And you can't miss them in their bright blue building. Pair that great food with delicious coffee for breakfast and a variety of local and national beers on tap the rest of the day. Order your food online at yomuchacho.com or visit them in person at Muchachos on South 11th Street between L and K Streets.
John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air's motto is our family serving yours. That starts with how we hire. We go through an extensive interview process to really get to know you and show you who we are. We want to help you build a great career, be challenged, have fun, and bring home an excellent weekly paycheck. We offer competitive wages with benefits, including a day off for your birthday. Apply to be a part of the John Henry's family at jhlincoln.com. That's jhlincoln.com.
John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air. This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Hi, Sean Callahan here. In 2013, I first came across Koppel Chevrolet GMC in Louisville, and I've been a customer ever since. What's kept me coming back to Koppel is the people. Oftentimes, owner Bob Koppel and his son Brandon are right there with you in the showroom, walking you through the process. There's no runaround at Koppel. It's a hardworking Nebraska company built on honest, small-town values. So make that short drive to Louisville or visit them online at koppelcars.com.
This is Tom and Bock. coming at you live from Coppell Chevrolet GMC Studios in the heart of Lincoln, America on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here are your hosts, Tom Stevens.
You know, we failed, but I thought it was a great effort. I thought that the plan was laid out perfectly.
Jake Bockoven.
I'm not sure I get my point across properly. I'm sure I don't do a good job of explaining what I mean.
Tom and Bock starts now.
Hour number 2 of Tom and Bock. I'm Tom Stevens. He's Jake Bockoven. No football game, in case you didn't hear, this weekend. Nebraska will not be playing, so it's a bye weekend. What are you going to do with your bye weekend?
I really haven't decided too much. I'm hoping it's going to be a little bit warm. I've been putting off the chores outside until a warm day, and it was warm a couple days ago, and I just didn't do it.
Yeah, I've got mostly leave raking to do, and I really don't want to do it, but I'll probably do a little bit this weekend. I know I'm going to play golf.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people will plan their wedding. I bet there was a lot of weddings this weekend.
Yeah, I think so.
When you're a huge Husker football fan. I'm trying to remember. You did it in the summer, though, right?
Yeah.
So you didn't even want to mess with the fall.
No, but I was in a wedding last weekend actually as a groomsman.
Really?
Yeah. On the day of a game.
Wow. Was that a tough decision for you? I mean, were you peeking at you were peeking at the phone, right? Be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I did. I watched the majority of the game.
No, that's okay. I mean, a lot of people will refuse to go to weddings on a Husker weekend. I mean, either they've got tickets or they've got plans to watch Husker football. And sorry, I'm not going to your damn wedding.
Well,
I love you, daughter or son.
Yeah. or husband to be, but I'm not doing it.
Yeah. But I mean, that's a big conflict sometimes with couples planning weddings.
Yeah, it was interesting too, because it's just kind of, when you do choose to do it, then everybody's just kind of waiting 2 weeks ahead to see what the game time is going to be, to see kind of how you figure it out. But it used to be a lot worse. Now, I don't know. It depends, I guess, what cable provider, I guess cable's old school, or whatever provider you have. You can watch it on your phone.
Right.
Back in the day, you'd have to go hide and find a closet or somewhere where somebody's got a TV or
That's
something.
right. I remember in 1997, I had to go to a friend's wedding, and it was Nebraska versus Missouri.
Ooh, that's a big one.
That's a big one. Of course, the kick, the catch, the Davidson catch, the SB. And Warren Swain, he was really high up and didn't have the greatest vision. It's hard to see when you're making a call like that.
Yeah.
And he said, Frost across the middle, kick, incomplete. And then Adrian rushed in maybe a second later, said, no, it's a touchdown.
Yeah.
But my buddy who was listening during the wedding had gone out to his car to listen to the game and turned it off at that point and said, we lost.
He just came in and told everybody?
He told everybody we lost. And I remember going out to the car, no, that can't be. And it was in overtime, and Nebraska was just sacking Missouri to finish off that game. And we won. But I was devastated. No, this is a national championship type team. And they just lost to Missouri.
And I believe the rule is, and people will still debate this, whether that was a legal call or not, that you couldn't, at that time, I don't know if the rules have changed, but you weren't allowed to intentionally kick it, which he will argue that he didn't intentionally kick it.
Well, there's no way to know.
Of course he did. Well, why wouldn't you intentionally kick it? It's over regardless of any rules if it's not in your hands.
Shevin Wiggins should have caught that ball.
Yeah, maybe.
Shevin Wiggins should have. I mean, that was not an easy catch because Frost was not that far away from him and threw it really hard. But Shevin probably should have caught that ball, and then he kicked it, and bam, touchdown. Davison, I mean, it's interesting how one moment in your life, would he be where he is with Nebraska football right now, if not for the kick and then the catch?
Probably not, but I think he's also underrated for the rest of his career. I mean, he was a pretty darn good, especially, for those option teams, you couldn't rack up yards or anything, but he was a reliable receiver downfield.
I have a buddy that once went by Matt Davison, not a big fan of him, and he said, "Hey, one catch," and now you're going, that's rather mean. I mean, you made a lot of good catches.
Yeah, he was
in his
really
life.
good.
He made a lot of really good catches. He was the ultimate possession receiver back in the day. Didn't have a blazing speed, but man,
I think it was the 2000 Alamo Bowl against Northwestern where he went off. for some big yardage. But I mean, overall, I mean, he had some Texas A&M games. I remember some certain moments where he would really do well outside of that Missouri game. Of course, now it's kind of weird that he's like in the athletic department and also calling games. Isn't there some sort of bias that you want to
I don't know. I wonder
avoid?
if that happens very often in programs, like smaller programs. I think it happens all the time. You're the SID, but you also call the games. Like they have 3 people on staff, so you do everything.
Well, and also if it's the home network, shouldn't it allowed to be a little bit biased? I just know some people get frustrated with it. You know, that should be a flag. That should be a flag. That should be a flag. That sort of thing.
That's what I want. That's what I want from Paul Allen, who calls the Vikings.
Yeah,
or Matt Davison.
You want a homer call?
I want a homer call. I don't want somebody who's unbiased.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm listening to a national broadcast, that's a different thing. If I'm listening to the NFL but if I'm listening to the hometown team. And I'm Denny Matthews, Fred White. They didn't do a lot of that, but you could tell they were for the Royals, who they're rooting for. I like that. That's why you listen to Matt Davison and Gray Sharp.
Yeah.
I found this pretty interesting. By the way, if you'd like to text in, we'd love to have you. Sutter Heyman text line 464-5685. The Honda of Lincoln hotline. We are on Twitch. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube as well. Jacksonville Jags defensive end Dwayne Smoot helped his wife Amari deliver their second child yesterday morning at their home in Jacksonville. They're about to leave for the hospital. It was like 3 a.m. But she went into labor. Wasn't enough time to get her to the car. So he called the hospital, 911, and the baby was born. In fact, they had to walk him through how to tie the umbilical cord. Do you think you could do that?
No. I personally am not a big fan of birthing and births. That would be a lot for me.
You would do it if it were your child.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely I would. It would just be that'd be awful.
I mean, this almost never happens, right? That you have to deliver the child in the home, or maybe it happens all the time. I know I have a relative who's a midwife, so she comes to the home and helps women do it. Have their baby at home. But I think like you, I don't think I could be like Fred Smoot. But
Dwayne Smoot.
Dwayne Smoot. I'm sorry. There's a different Fred Smoot. Alani Moon Smoot, born in their living room.
That's quite a story. And Smoot, if you remember, he played at Illinois. I think he had a pretty big game against Nebraska one time.
That's right. End. Dwayne Smoot, congratulations to the Jags defensive end. He now has a newborn, and her name is Alani Moon Smoot.
What do you think about the umbilical cord? I think I decided not to cut it because I don't understand why people.
You didn't cut it?
No.
Did you let? I mean, so who did it? The doctor?
I guess I don't know. I didn't pay too much attention to
That's
that.
tradition, right?
Yeah, I don't understand the tradition. I find it quite disgusting.
So if you couldn't even cut the umbilical cord, I'm not sure that you would be able to tie it. Do the. Well, I'm glad that your wife.
I nearly fainted at
my birth. Do you tell her before? Did you tell her when she was?
I told her for months. I had to prepare her. I'm not going to cut that thing. That's gross.
Did you also say that if you go into labor, I'm not helping?
No. But I did. I mean, she wanted me to film the whole thing, from all different angles, and I said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not looking. I'm not looking. I'm going to be up supporting at your.
You've taken that from her. Did you hire a photographer to do it or something like that?
No, she still wants. Maybe if I ever have another child with her, that we will that I will film it that way. Maybe I will, but geez, I really don't want to.
All right, it's distressing news that Bock is not going to help his wife in the future, and he won't even cut the umbilical cord. I wonder how many guys are in your no, I'm not doing that.
Well, I never wanted to do it, and then the birth was complications and stuff, so it was scary for my son. It was scary for my wife at the time, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to cut the cord?" And I'm like, "I don't right now. No,
that's a different story. You'd already been through the complications. You were worried.
Yeah,
you're just like I
was already hesitant to do it, and then they're just kind of asking me when I'm worried about the two most important people in my life at that time. I not right now. No,
no, I'm not doing that. Let's get to box tops. Are you ready?
Yep.
Let's go.
All right, this is not exactly the best weekend of college football as far as on paper, but I still have the top 10 games for you to look out. No top 25 matchups,
but still plenty of matchups with a lot of intrigue. So we'll run through it here. If you want to use your bye week for Nebraska to watch college football, it's not a bad idea to do. I know some people kind of get too much into the Nebraska games. They're not too much into it. Just you don't have enough time to watch the other games. So it's a nice time to catch up on some other games. Number 10 on my list, I know most people will be watching this one. Number 16, Wake Forest at Army. 11 a.m. CBS Sports Network. You can get into that game for $45 if you're around there. Wake Forest 3-point wins against Syracuse and Louisville the last 2 weeks. And Wake still has to play North Carolina, Clemson, and North Carolina State. I say all that because Wake Forest, of course, is undefeated, which is kind of surprising.
Here's a bold prediction for you, Bock. I don't think they're going to end the season undefeated.
I don't think so either. But either way, it's always kind of cool when Wake Forest is maybe the easiest Power 5 team to forget about, don't you think? I mean, they're rather forgettable in most sports.
I'd forgotten they have a football team. I mean, they've always been good in basketball. In fact, I would not be surprised if they lose to Army this week.
Yeah, Army, of course, just coming off a 3-point loss to Wisconsin, so they can push some teams. And Wake Forest, like I said, have been sliding by against mediocre teams, so we'll see how that one turns out. How about another undefeated team? A lot of this week is kind of seeing who can get knocked off, right? Number 22, San Diego State, also undefeated, under head coach Brady Hoke, who is the third coach, I believe, or the first coach and active coach to have 3 teams that he started with 6-0 records, including Michigan and Ball State, and now San Diego State. But in any case, they take on Air Force. Air Force is coming off a win at Boise State. San Diego State, by the way, who is 6-0, still has 5-1 Nevada, 5-2 Fresno State, and Boise State, who's 3-4, but always a tough task left on the schedule. What do you think about San Diego State's chances of going undefeated this year?
It's possible. Was that Harbaugh's school or was that San Jose State when he was there?
San Diego State,
Yeah, San Diego State. He was there and had good success. I think you can have success at San Diego State. I think it's perfect for Brady Hoke to be at a school like, wasn't he at Ball State as well?
Yeah.
Brady Hoke. That feels like the school where Brady Hoke should coach. And I think they could go a ways. They're not going to get into a college football playoff no matter what. So they could go undefeated probably with their schedule.
And Harbaugh was actually at San Diego, not San Diego
Okay,
State.
San Diego. Okay, gotcha.
But Brady Hoke, I believe, I think this is his second stint at San Diego State, if I'm not wrong. And I think he was originally brought back to this team as the defensive line coach. He did kind of like a Doc Sadler type of thing where you return to the place that you used to coach as a helper, and now he's back in charge, and he's got him at 6-0. So good for the Aztecs and good for Brady Hoke. Number 8 on my list. How about in the Big Ten? How about a pretty interesting game again at Huntington Bank Stadium this week? Maryland at Minnesota. Golden Gophers coming over that surprising win against Nebraska. This will be 2:30 on ESPN2. $25 if you want to get into that game. Maryland, of course, 4-2, but they're reeling after those losses to Iowa and Ohio State, blowout losses. But Minnesota's in the thick of things for the Big Ten West race.
Yeah, I think Minnesota wins that easily. That's a finesse team that Maryland is, and it doesn't seem to fit well with teams that like to play physical like Minnesota.
Yeah. Number 7 on my list, number 10, Oregon at UCLA. That one 2:30 on ABC. $38 to get in the Rose Bowl this week. The Ducks are 3-1 in the 4 games this season that have been 1-score contests, so they're kind of the opposite of Nebraska. Chip Kelly 0-2 against his old team, Oregon.
Yeah, but they're 5-2 overall.
Yeah,
UCLA is having a good year. But
this is probably Oregon's best, most likely opportunity to lose before the end of the Pac-12 season.
They almost lost last week, and they've got quite a few injuries. They almost lost,
and they lost to Stanford, so they'll lose to anybody.
Yeah, that's right. But they almost lost to California,
right?
But last week, so I wouldn't be surprised if UCLA wins that game the way Oregon's been playing.
Yeah. Number 6 on my list, back into the Big Ten, Wisconsin at number 25, Purdue. Of course, 2 of Nebraska's 4 remaining opponents there. That one's set for 2 o'clock on BTN. I'm sure a lot of Husker fans will watch that just to preview and prepare for Purdue and Wisconsin. $39 if you want to get into Ross-Ade Stadium this week. And after allowing an average of 30.2 points per game from 2018 to 2020, Purdue is down to 14 points per game this season, which ranks 5th nationally. So their defense is really doing well. Wisconsin has won 14 straight, however, against the Boilermakers dating back to 2003. That's a long streak.
Who do you got in that one?
I'm leaning toward Purdue. I think that they're for real. A lot of people still believe in Wisconsin because of how good that defense is, but that offense is terrible.
Yeah, I think I'd go with Purdue because their defense is good, but their offense is way better than Wisconsin's.
Yeah. Number 5 on my list. This would usually be much higher on the list in a primetime type of game. It's still on primetime on NBC, but USC at number 13, Notre Dame, 6:30 on NBC. Tickets only $56 to get into Notre Dame USC. It's probably cheaper among those games that they play over the several years. Of course, Dante Williams, Nebraska's former coach or secondary coach, now leading USC. He's 2-2 since taking over for Clay Helton. USC's 3-3 overall. Notre Dame's only loss was to Cincinnati, but who knows what can happen in a rivalry game here?
I think I've seen more highlights of the Bush push this week than I've seen. I mean, every year they drag that up.
Yeah.
Every year they drag that up when Notre Dame's about to play USC.
Well, I love like Fox, their pregame special. It's just like 2005. They love 2005. It's just like Reggie Bush and Brady Quinn in that game. Yeah, Brady Quinn and Matt Leinart.
Yeah.
And it's just like, man, they loved that game.
That was a fun era of college football.
Yeah.
But USC hasn't been that since 2005, and Notre Dame has. But they're just not when big games arrive, at least at the end of the season.
Yeah, and Notre Dame. I mean, remember that Florida State Notre Dame game? How good that was at the start of the year, and we thought, man, these teams are going to be good. And then Florida State was awful.
Yeah.
Notre Dame's done pretty well though. Again, they only lost to Cincinnati.
Only one loss, but that's not a great Notre Dame team.
Not great.
It's an okay team.
It's okay. How about number 4 on my list? Tennessee at number 4, Alabama. This one at 6:00 on ESPN. You can get into Bryant-Denny Stadium for $70 this week. The game is dubbed the third Saturday in October. Annually, Tennessee will play at Alabama. That's the crossover in the SEC. They have a permanent crossover. Some people don't know that. Some of the other permanent crossovers include Florida, LSU, Georgia, Auburn, Missouri, Arkansas. But Kentucky gets Mississippi State every year. So I guess, for those teams, that's a pretty good crossover deal.
Yeah.
Remember when Nebraska was in the Legends division,
right?
The best division they've ever been in.
By far.
They were set to play Michigan and Iowa, Michigan State every year, and then crossover with Penn State.
Yeah.
What a great division. And that's what that Nebraska welcomed into the Big Ten. Then a few years later, just threw them to the West, and it's not all that interesting.
You can't live in the past, Bock, but I
know.
miss it as well. Legends versus leaders. Those were the days.
Those were the days.
Yeah.
And also, those were the days Nebraska was good in the Big Ten, which we didn't know that. Like since then, it probably has gone downhill.
Yeah.
Number 3 on my list, LSU, the Bayou Bengals at number 12, Ole Miss. This one 2:30 on CBS. $55 to get into that game. It's dubbed the Magnolia Bowl. This is because the state flower of both states is the Magnolia, so they hand out the Magnolia Trophy to the winner. LSU, of course, coming off that upset of Florida, and how nice would it be if Ed Orgeron beat 2 top 10, 25 opponents back-to-back weeks after getting fired?
But what if he goes undefeated from here on out? That'd be hilarious.
Yeah. Then USC will just hire him, I guess.
I guess so. I mean, if he wants a gig, he says he's going to take a year off. But if he wants a gig in college football, I'm guessing he could get one at the end of the year.
Number 2 on my list. How about this? A little bit of reverse what you would think coming into the season, where Clemson would be ranked and Pittsburgh wouldn't. But Clemson is at number 23, Pittsburgh. This one, 2:30 on ESPN, $43 to get into Heinz Field there. Clemson defensive coordinator Brent Venables, one of the better-known assistants around the nation, compared Heisman hopeful Kenny Pickett of Pittsburgh to Joe Burrow.
Wow.
Pickett's history against Clemson is not very good, though. The 2 prior games he played against them, he's just 26 of 55 passing for 217 yards and 2 touchdowns to go along with 7 turnovers and 9 sacks. So he's going to have to turn it around against Clemson. Of course, this isn't the Clemson of past. And by the way, Kenny Pickett's numbers compared to Joe Burrow, his Heisman year, he's only like 3 touchdowns less and like 150 yards less, because Kenny Pickett is in the Heisman conversation. And because he plays at Pittsburgh, you might not notice him, but he's there.
Well, he's not going to win the Heisman because he plays in the ACC, and Pittsburgh's not going to be in the college football playoff. But Pickett is really good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably the best quarterback in the ACC. I don't even think there's a doubt. That's the best quarterback in the ACC. And top 5 nationally.
Yeah. Number 1 on my list, number 8, undefeated Oklahoma State at Iowa State. 2:30 kick on Fox. Tickets as low as $72 to get in the Jack Trice Stadium. That's the highest ticket price on the college football market this week, which is part of the reason why I like the state of Iowa in general. Iowa and Iowa State like football more. I think their fan bases are better than people give them credit for. But anyways, the Cowboys are 6.5-point underdogs at Caesars Sportsbook. That's the second biggest margin by a top 10 team against an unranked team in the past 40 years. The winner of this game likely has the best chance, and statistically speaking, has the best chance to meet Oklahoma in the Big 12 title game.
Yeah, I can't wait for Bedlam. I think Oklahoma State has a chance. They have a chance to run the table. I think Iowa State's the favorite this weekend, but you're talking about two really good defenses, and that's how Oklahoma State's doing it this year. They're doing it completely with defense, and you never thought you'd say that about a Mike Gundy team, at least not exclusively defense.
And quickly, I'll have my ticket price updates when I do these schedules.
I love this.
So the highest price tickets of the week, I mentioned Oklahoma State and Iowa State, number one, $72 to get into that one. Tennessee, Alabama will be the next highest ranked rated ticket this week. $70 to get in the nosebleeds there. One game I didn't mention, Ohio State, Indiana. I don't think it's a top 10 game. I think Ohio State's going to roll over Indiana, but still, Indiana's fan base is getting up for it. $67 to get into that one. $61 to get into South Carolina and Texas A&M, and USC and Notre Dame coming at fifth with $56 to get into them. On the opposite end of that, North Carolina State, number 18 in the nation, going to Miami. You get in for $18. It doesn't cost too much. Manny Diaz is hanging on by a thread. And then maybe the most pathetic update to give you is that you can watch Washington and Arizona for $6 if you wanted to do. This is because Arizona's 0-6 this year.
They're terrible.
They were 0-5 last season, and they lost their last 7 games of 2019. So Arizona, the Wildcats, are on an 18-game losing streak, and their last win was October 5th, 2019. To give you an idea of when that was a week after Nebraska hosted College Game Day. That's how long it's been since Arizona has won a game.
And I always think of Arizona as being a decent job.
Yeah, it's not bad.
You would think it would be a decent job, but they've just been terrible.
Yeah.
Not even close. Arizona State's a much better job right now, but then they might have an opening.
Yeah.
even though Herman's having a really good year.
I saw too, Arizona State's like the top betting odds to where Spencer Rattler will transfer if he does, because Spencer Rattler, I don't know if you stayed up on the news, he took down Oklahoma quarterback off his Instagram.
Oh, he did.
And he's not friends with the quarterback starting
Caleb Williams.
Caleb Williams. He's not Instagram following. They're not Instagram following each other. And but the top idea is that he would probably. I know everybody thinks, Spencer Rattler might look at Nebraska. Well, he's from the Phoenix area, so a lot of people are thinking the Arizona State.
Sure, I mean that makes sense. But he can go wherever he wants to, and sometimes these days it has more to do with name, image, and likeness work. Because that was a guy that was going to make loads and was making money at Oklahoma. With name, image, and likeness. I wonder if he chooses his next school because of that. I don't know.
Yeah, how's he gonna get both his cars? He's gonna have to have somebody else drive it down to wherever.
Yeah,
he's
he had
going.
to deal with a dealership, right, in Oklahoma. So I'm guessing he's got to give that up as soon as he hits the transfer portal. Let's get the break and come back with more. It is Frost bites. We'll talk about some of the stuff that Scott Frost said yesterday to the media. We'll do it next.
You're listening to Tom and Bock. Watch live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch.
From navigating the fall catfishing frenzy to hunting exotic wild game in Texas, building complex homemade weapons in Germany, and riding rough stock. This week on The Revolution with Jim and Trav, we're headed for remote exposure. Joining the boys will be Cat Daddy, plus Mitch Petrie of Outdoor Sportsman Group, Bradley Miller with Kid Rodeo, and Jorg Sprava from Backyard Ballistics. The Revolution is presented by Outdoor Channel, Sportsman Channel, World Fishing Network, and My Outdoor TV. Sunday mornings at 8 a.m. on 93.7 The Ticket. Lincoln's Ticket to Sports.
Right now, Allstate has almost as many ways to save as there are types of music. Save for being a new customer. Save more for adding DriveWise. And save even more for driving safely. Visit allstate.com or contact your local agent to get a quote. Find out how much you can save today. Allstate. Now that should be music to your ears.
Not available in every state. New customer savings based on early signing discount. DriveWise is an optional feature. Savings vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms and conditions. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
When everything is changing, you need a store that's a constant. A store that has the brands your family loves and the value that you need. A store where you can stock up, pick up, and drive up. A store that's close to home and feels like home. A store that puts the health and safety of you and your family above all else. And a store that's always here to help. At Kohl's, we don't know what next year will look like. We just know that we'll be here for you no matter what. Kohl's, here today, here to stay. See store or kohls.com for details.
Experiencing increased body fat, low sex drive, lack of energy, or general fatigue? Vitalize Health offers testosterone replacement therapy and peptide therapy to boost hormone levels and build muscle mass. Call Vitalize Health today at 402-413-0717 or go online to vitalizehealthne.com.
Hey, sports fans, Rico here with HIS Auto Care 70th and Van Dorn. Carfax recently awarded us as a top-rated auto service center for 2020, and Lincoln Choice Awards voted us as the 2021 top independent auto repair center. Call us at 402-488-8934 for superior service bumper to bumper. Mention this ad and get 7% off. Doesn't get any better than that. Rico for his Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
Beatrice Bakery has been serving Nebraska with one-of-a-kind Grandma's Fruitcake since 1964. You already know that, but did you know they offer way more than that? You've got to try their line of liqueur cakes, like the strawberry daiquiri cake or the vanilla rum cake. Or what about their breakfast breads, the banana nut bread, or their various streusel coffee cakes? Whatever the occasion, Beatrice Bakery has something for you. Oh yeah, and Grandma's Fruitcake? It's still pretty darn good. Beatrice Bakery, located in downtown Beatrice, or always online at beatricebakery.com. Welcome to our world of yum.
Venue at Home is your answer for locally made, freshly prepared meals delivered to your door every week. Our meals come ready to heat and eat. With sizes for 2 people or 4, Venue at Home is perfect for busy people who want a quick, easy, and delicious meal option to share with your roommates or feed the whole family. Add on from our wide selection of appetizers, sides, desserts, alcohol, and more. Receive a discount on your meals by subscribing to get Venue at Home delivered every week. Visit venueathome.net to order today. That's venueathome.net.
There's not many things worse than having plumbing issues at your home or business, but it's even worse if the problem isn't fixed correctly. Select Plumbing gets it right the first time, and they specialize in several things: general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, sewer and water underground repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate at 402-560-6197. That's Select Plumbing at 402-560-6197.
Hi, I'm Charlie Stone, and joining me is Andy Goodyear, General Manager of Honda of Lincoln. Andy, are you there?
Yes, I am, Charlie.
Hey, Andy, I saw on television you have more than 500 new Hondas in stock or on the way. Now, I'm sure the listeners would like to hear more about that.
Well, Charlie, it's true. We have truckloads of new Hondas arriving just about every day. What's different is you won't see them on the lot very long because most all of them are pre-sold. And that's what we're encouraging all of our customers to do is get in here, get their order in as soon as possible.
Well, tell me, Andy, will they have to wait long?
Not really. It could be a few days or maybe even a few weeks, but not long at all. So I really invite everyone to come on out and experience the Honda of Lincoln way of doing business, 27th and Yankee Hill Road, or online at hondaoflincoln.com.
Thank you, Andy. Andy Goodyear, General Manager of Honda of Lincoln.
In every office, there's 2 types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe.
Shopping for new flooring is different today. Getting your questions answered, making the right selection, getting the best value, and installed quickly and professionally. Visit ostreetcarpet.com or shop our store. We'll answer all your questions and help you make the right choice. You'll be enjoying your new floor in just days for less than you'd pay elsewhere. Carpet, vinyl, wood, laminate, tile, and area rugs. We've got it all.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
You're listening to Tom and Bock on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We mentioned Dwayne Smoot, Jags defensive end, delivering his own baby. And then we got into a discussion about the umbilical cord because he had to find out how to tie it via 911. Bock says he didn't do it for his own child.
No,
because it was just kind of weird.
It was just icky.
I don't. Rick, you did them both, Rico? Rico said he did it both times. 49er Tim said, I've delivered a baby before. Don't want to do it again. Said I cut the cord on all 3 of my kids. Thought it was weird and pointless, according to Dusty. My first boy, the doctor made me cut the cord. The second and third, I was like, nope. Not going to do it.
See?
So
People are starting to stand up and not cut cords. I like it.
it's about time, right?
That's
you
right.
You got to stand up for yourself and say, I'm going to do that.
We don't have to be forced into doing this.
That's just weird and gross, and I don't want to do it. I just want to see my baby, so you do it.
Yeah, that's not my job. What are we paying these guys for?
That's right. It is expensive. It's rather expensive. What are you just trying to get me to do your job? Come on. I wanted to mention some of the things that Scott Frost said yesterday to the media. Not a lot of it a big deal, but there were some things that stood out. He said that he doesn't want to go into detail about the ailments of Adrian Martinez and what he's gone through as far as injuries are concerned. But it is to blame, apparently, by a revised play sheet. They didn't run a lot of quarterback runs last week. And I think some of that had to do with Minnesota just spying the quarterback. But they didn't do it. And part of that, he says, was due to Adrian being a little banged up. And he also says that after this bye week, he'll be as healthy as he has been for a while. So he was banged up. That was a big concern. And then after a week, he'll be fine.
Well, I mean, we can kind of negate that stuff and say Nebraska still should have won, but that's usually a pretty big part of the game plan. As we remember, he finished with negative 17 yards rushing, because of sacks and stuff, but that's just not usually what we see out of Adrian. I still think he should have scored on that goal line carry that they ultimately didn't score on, so they still called his number a time or two, but that's a big part of Adrian's game. So to take that out, kind of reminiscent of a Taylor Martinez game back in 2013 when he didn't have the speed, and so Minnesota forced him to kind of be the passing quarterback, and he wasn't going to be able to do that and win the game. So kind of interesting.
You mentioned negative 17 yards rushing, and he did stay in the pocket, and it wasn't one of his better throwing days. Sometimes his better throwing days are when he's throwing on the run.
Yeah.
Or making guys miss in the pocket, getting outside the pocket and making a play downfield, throwing the football. And, if you don't have your legs or if you have an injury that you're concerned about and you stay in the pocket and you're not really a pocket passer, he's an okay pocket passer. He's not a great pocket passer. Maybe that affected him to some degree.
Of course, I think he had a negative 11 on the safety.
Yeah.
So that was part of it.
Yeah, that might have been a big part of it. He probably how many times have we seen him just take off and run? And it's not a design quarterback run. It's just him ad-libbing, and that probably limited him to some degree. Scott Frost says Deontay Williams suffered a minor knee injury in the Minnesota game, but is considered day-to-day, maybe week-to-week. He could miss a few games, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's not good news, but I mean, that was weird. Or, it was kind of a non-contact injury.
Interception.
It was, and it was huge for him. I mean, because he tied for the nation's lead in interceptions. And I mean, he came back to have a strong showing to give a shot at the NFL. And I think he's going to get it. I mean, he's playing at an all Big Ten type of level. So, that was kind of weird. I didn't know whether to cheer or to, because it looks kind of scary just the way that he landed. But it's good to hear that he's not too banged up.
Also says Scott Frost, Ramir Johnson is still going through concussion protocol and has been with the team in the meetings all week. He says he's not worried about his team losing passion after going so long without a victory. He says the team has prepared the same way every week. I guess that's one of the big questions is when do they finally hit a wall emotionally? It's been a long season, 8 weeks without a bye. It showed a little bit in that first half of Minnesota where you didn't play with a lot of passion. And then, you talk about it being an early morning game. If they come back with passion, they beat Purdue. A lot of that maybe can be swept under the bridge.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that anybody's going to convince you or convince a Husker fan that's a little bit upset right now that they're going to win 3 of these last 4. But the thing is, they could
just win 2, as I said yesterday.
Just get to 5 wins.
Get to 5.
Just get to 5.
Yeah.
But seriously though, I mean, they could easily win. I don't want to say easily; it'd be tough to do, but they could win 3 of these next 4 games. Ohio State kind of being the outlier though, but you expect them to be in those other games. And 3 of the 4 games that are by the way, are at home. So they're up against the wall. I don't necessarily expect it to happen, but there's still a lot to play for. And it's not just that you could do that and of course go to a bowl, but it's the momentum that you would have moving forward. I mean, because you'd have to beat Wisconsin and Iowa. Those would be two major things checked off the checklist that haven't been done for years. So there's so much still to be played for. I can just understand too, the fear that 3 and 5 start to pile up because, it is getting, and especially if they lose a few more games. I mean, if they get to 7 losses before Iowa, maybe they're not as engaged for that game, but maybe they would know that's the last game, so they would at least want to go out with a statement. So it's just kind of weird. All the time, you can kind of find different reasons to get motivated for games and reasons why they'd be distracted, and you just kind of, you don't know until you see it. And they weren't ready for that Minnesota game, even though I thought there was plenty to be on the line for.
Text line 464-5685. Sutter Heyman text line 3 and 5 isn't getting swept under the bridge. Probably not. You guys think Frost should be back if they finish 6 and 6? Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
I think even 7 and 5, you take a really hard look at that.
You mean 5 and 7
or 7 and 5? That's
they could still go 7 and 5.
5 and 7 is something that I think is probably most realistic.
Yeah.
2 and 2 down the stretch. And depending on how those games go, you take a look at it. 4 and 8's tougher. 4 and 8's tougher, and 3 and 9 is really, really tough.
Yeah. It's just that's where we are. It's kind of this, you kind of get these hot seat questions and kind of think about where you are. Well, it's just an incomplete answer right now because there's still a lot to be had. This is probably the best that we've seen a Frost team play over the last several weeks, maybe excluding that Minnesota game, but still, including it and extending it back to the Oklahoma game. It's a good 5-game stretch, but you're 1 and 4 in your best stretch. So, it's just hard to find out your feelings there, but I think the answer will remain in how you finish up this season.
A few other notes from what Scott Frost said to the press yesterday. PJ Fleck and his comments about culture versus skill. He felt he won. That Minnesota won that game with culture over skill. Said he didn't pay much attention to it. Hadn't heard the comments from PJ Fleck, but he did say that he thinks Nebraska's culture has come 100 miles from when he began. So that was kind of how he answered that. And he also mentioned that he thinks Minnesota's pretty talented. So he wonders why Fleck would say that about his own team, which is a little bit of a bash on his own team.
Yeah, it was because I thought Frost pointed out pretty well. I was impressed with several of their athletes that they had out there on the field for Minnesota. So it is kind of weird to say that, but it is, and it's always hard to try to gauge culture too, right? I mean, because you know a lot of times people say the right things, but I mean it should just play out on the field. Eventually you need to have a winning culture. So I mean the culture may have come 100 miles, but when is how many miles does it need to get to before you start winning some of these close ball games?
I think one texter is not pleased with me saying 6 and 6 is good enough. Why is it good enough? Because that's kind of what we were pointing to. One of the tougher schedules in the entire country is what Nebraska is playing. And we thought if you beat, you got to beat Illinois and then probably beat Michigan State, neither of which happened, get to 6 and 6. But also within that framework, the Big Ten isn't quite as good, especially the West, as we thought it would be. So you get check marks. I thought Illinois would be better than they are. Not so much. I thought Minnesota would be much better than they are. They're okay. So that's why you play the season. You kind of get a look at what you think will happen and then a look at what actually happened. And I still think 6 and 6 is the barometer for me. But 5 and 7, I think Frost is fine. I really do. I think
he'll still be
with
fine?
this athletic director.
Yeah.
I think he has the support of this athletic director. I don't know what I'm saying it would be for me. Again, I have to watch the games and you make a decision from there, but it really doesn't matter what I think. I think this athletic director get to 5. That's why I said get to 5. Not that it means anything as far as a bowl game is concerned, but I think it would mean something as far as his job is concerned.
Well, and we've seen over the years, what will happen if you just go out into a coaching search without having too much, inroads done with some of the candidates. So I think that you're in a spot similar to where you were at the end of Bo Pelini. And again, it depends on how this kind of figures out. If you go 5-7, win 2 of these games, you have some momentum to end the season. You've played some of your best ball under the Frost era, and so I think you would probably keep it rolling. But just depending on how some of those losses work. But I think you're just in a situation where if you don't have a guy that you're ready to go after, you think, oh, this guy's the one that's going to take over the Nebraska program and be able to do it more so than the faith that you have in Frost, then I would give him an extra year and kind of try to get some of that work done just in case it doesn't happen the next year. But I understand too, people would that won't be happy with 6-6. It just shows improvement. It's another year that I hate to be in these situations, and you've been in the last 3 years where it's like, well, it doesn't matter really what happens as long as they improve, So you're not, it's not that usual 8-9 win standard that you'd at least want to say, hey, that's actually a pretty solid team. But Sipple says it all the time. This is a bowl team. It might not get to a bowl, but the talent, just kind of everything involved. This is a bowl team. So if they can't get to a bowl, man, that's going to be an ugly look.
It looks like we've got some texts that we could read in the 1 o'clock hour. We'll save those. Thanks for your text, Taylor, and a few others, Bo Lever. We'll get to those. 464-5685, Sutter Heyman text line, Honda of Lincoln hotline. You can use that number right now to win $15 from Buffalo Wings and Rings. It is Thursday, so that means Husker Highlight Thursday. I think this is a good one. And if you listen to the start of our show, you probably have the answer to this particular question. But call right now, 464-5685 on the Honda of Lincoln hotline. We'll do it. It's Wingman next.
Download our app by searching 93.7 The Ticket in your app store to stay in touch and listen all day long wherever you are. This is Tom and Bock.
There's not many things worse than having plumbing issues at your home or business, but it's even worse if the problem isn't fixed correctly. Select Plumbing gets it right the first time, and they specialize in several things: general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, sewer and water underground repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate at 402-560-6197. That's Select Plumbing at 402-560-6197.
Hi, Sean Callahan here. In 2013, I first came across Koppel Chevrolet GMC in Louisville, and I've been a customer ever since. What's kept me coming back to Koppel is the people. Oftentimes, owner Bob Koppel and his son Brandon are right there with you in the showroom, walking you through the process. There's no runaround at Koppel. It's a hardworking Nebraska company built on honest, small-town values. So make that short drive to Louisville or visit them online at koppelcars.com.
Venue at Home is your answer for locally made, freshly prepared meals delivered to your door every week. Our meals come ready to heat and eat. With sizes for 2 people or 4, Venue at Home is perfect for busy people who want a quick, easy, and delicious meal option to share with your roommates or feed the whole family. Add on from our wide selection of appetizers, sides, desserts, alcohol, and more. Receive a discount on your meals by subscribing to get Venue at Home delivered every week. Visit venueathome.net to order today. That's venueathome.net.
Serve Nebraska believes that volunteers are part of what makes Nebraska great. Each year, the Step Forward Awards honors volunteers from across the state who serve their communities in outstanding ways. In 2021, the Step Forward Awards has been postponed to December 9th and moved to a virtual space. Join us in thanking volunteers for all they do by tuning in to the virtual Step Forward Awards celebration. Visit serve.nebraska.gov to register. Paid for by Serve Nebraska, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Beatrice Bakery has been serving Nebraska with one-of-a-kind Grandma's Fruitcake since 1964. You already know that, but did you know they offer way more than that? You've got to try their line of liqueur cakes, like the strawberry daiquiri cake or the vanilla rum cake. Or what about their breakfast breads, the banana nut bread, or their various streusel coffee cakes? Whatever the occasion, Beatrice Bakery has something for you. Oh yeah, and Grandma's Fruitcake? It's still pretty darn good. Beatrice Bakery, located in downtown Beatrice, or always online at beatricebakery.com. Welcome to our world of yum.
Your home should not be a zoo to unwelcomed animals. Let the experts at Bats to Rats take care of those problems. Dane has been a leader in wildlife and pest management and prevention in Lincoln and the surrounding area for 15 years. He can help you get rid of bats, rodents, and anything else. Whether it's residential or commercial buildings, schools, apartments, or churches, they're always a phone call away. Call today at 402-310-0904 or visit batstorats.com. Bats to Rats Wildlife Control and Prevention.
Shopping for new flooring is different today. Getting your questions answered, making the right selection, getting the best value, and installed quickly and professionally. Visit ostreetcarpet.com or shop our store. We'll answer all your questions and help you make the right choice. You'll be enjoying your new floor in just days for less than you'd pay elsewhere. Carpet, vinyl, wood, laminate, tile, and area rugs. We've got it all.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
This is Wingman.
Son, your ego is writing checks your body can't cash. I don't like you because you're dangerous. That's right. You can be my wingman anytime.
Brought to you by Buffalo Wings and Rings on 93.7 The Ticket.
464-5685. Call right now on the Honda of Lincoln hotline. Win $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings. So you can go buy chickens.
Oh, yes. Yardbirds.
All right. This is our Husker Highlight on Husker Highlight Thursday. We need the name of the person that did it.
Lets it fly. Got it! From Rockstone! Will that spark the Raptors? It has the building.
I will tell you it's a former Husker, but that still counts because a lot of the Huskers that we play were former Huskers when we played the highlight. So 464-5685. Let's go to Taylor. And what do you think, Taylor?
Ooh. Do we get any wingman help today?
Yeah,
Yes.
you can use the wingman.
So former Husker, it was obviously a basketball clip. I think it was Delano Banton, since they said Raptors especially.
You know, I like that. Let's go with Delano Banton.
Let's go with Delano Banton because it's the right answer. This is what it sounded like last night. Delano Banton from half court.
Delano lets it fly. Got it! From Rockstone! Will that spark the Raptors? It has the building.
No, it did not spark the Raptors. They got beat and got beaten badly. But Delano was good. He was 3 of 4 from the field. He had 7 points in that game.
That was his first shot in the NBA, I believe.
Yeah. Wild. Huskers in
Welcome
the
to the
NBA.
NBA. Yeah, that's wild to begin with. 2 Huskers in the NBA.
And his introduction was absolutely huge as well last night. He got a big roar from the audience when he was being introduced. This is what it sounded like. Delano Banton.
Representing Rexdale, number 45, Delano Banton.
It sounded bigger when I saw the video.
I didn't hear that part. That was cool.
Yeah. Well, he's obviously from Toronto. Is he from Toronto? He's from Canada.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's very cool. Banton. It makes me think that guy's got a shot. If he can make shots, obviously he's not going to make half court shots very often. But the whole key is, can he make shots? And I think that's what in part got him drafted, is he showed up to some of these G League camps and really shot it well.
And he's got the body type for it. And I mean, that's all we heard all season long.
He's got a nice body, you think? He's got a nice body.
Well, is that he had an NBA type body.
Was he listed at 6'9" here?
6'9".
Yeah. He's listed at 6'7", at least on ESPN right now.
Hey, he's shrunk. It happens to all of us.
Some guys will get measured with their shoes on.
Yeah.
No, I mean, hey, man. Do you guys think that we'll eventually get to a point where in Husker basketball games they do the Huskers in the NBA instead of Huskers in the NFL?
Oh, yeah.
They did it back in the day, but that was back when Piakowski and Mikey Moore.
Yeah, Strickland.
You had actually guys playing in the NBA. Eric Strickland, obviously.
They got 2 now.
They got 2.
They could have 3 after this year. They could have more.
Well, yeah, and this week you could have a pretty decent highlight. I mean, a half-court highlight.
Well, half-court.
Roby had a
Roby's
posterize
dunk.
somebody, yeah.
Roby's
Should
done.
have got that, too.
I want to hear it one more time. I mean,
Lets it fly. Got it! From Rockstone!
I almost like the beep a little better, which they would have called him that. No, Delano Banton making the half-court shot last night for the Toronto Raptors in the NBA. Roby also had 8 points last night for OKC. Who has the better career in your mind?
Ooh, Delano's probably more promising, but Isaiah Roby
He's the better athlete.
He's probably the better athlete in my mind. He's going to have to play behind Derek Favors in OKC.
Who lasts longer, Bock, Roby or Banton?
I think Roby does, but Banton sure has a following there in Toronto. So, that'll be good. I mean, but I do think in Roby's maybe getting to the point in his career. He's still young. He still doesn't know how good he can be. But he's probably kind of
at Stephen Bardo.
Hey, that's funny. I just got that.
He's getting into kind of settling into a role, whether it's kind of a primary bench member of OKC, but I think he's going to be fun because I think he's going to stick around because of his athleticism is not going to go anywhere. Banton, I'm just interested to see. I mean, because all of us feel the same way. If you watch his Nebraska career, you didn't think it was going to quite happen. So it's hard to gauge that because he needed to do some development. He did it without us watching, and now we're going to see how he plays at the next level.
I've said this for a long time. I don't think Husker basketball fans or Husker fans in this state are big fans of the NBA. And I think a lot of that has to do with we don't put anybody in the NBA.
Oh, absolutely.
How much bigger? Yeah, I think the fan base really could grow if you watch the guy like Bryce McGowan. He has a big year here, and he has a nice NBA career, or a Banton, or a Roby. I think that when they're on TV, I used to follow them all the time.
Absolutely. And I think part one of that is Nebraska having success in basketball. Is just this Nebraska as a university becoming more of a basketball school, and they have a huge opportunity. I mean, let's be honest. I've talked to multiple people over the course of this week that have said, and we've gotten on the text line of, man, I just want Nebraska basketball to get here because there's a lot of excitement surrounding the program, number one. And number two, I mean, let's be real. Nebraska football is not doing that well. So Nebraska basketball is kind of Husker fans' next hope for a program to be successful.
We're a volleyball school now.
Absolutely. How great is it to beat Iowa nonstop, just every single time?
Sweep.
Yeah.
That's right. They're the worst volleyball program in the Big Ten, but I don't really care. It's Iowa.
Yeah.
Did you guys see for Iowa, it was their 8th straight game where they've been swept. They've lost 24 straight.
Wow.
Well, probably 25 straight.
That's a lot.
Sets. And it was their 11th straight loss overall.
And I can't figure that out because Iowa should be good in volleyball. They're a really good female basketball state and have been for a while. You would think the athletes they produce on the female side would make really good volleyball players.
Yeah, Iowa women's basketball is also one to watch because they got Taylor McCabe from Fremont on her way. So that's going to be super exciting as in addition to that stuff.
What's coming up on Happy Hour?
Well, we're going to talk about volleyball a little bit. We'll talk about some Husker men's basketball. It's kind of been a sad week on the Happy Hour, so we need to flip the script a little bit. I also have been taking a look back in time at 2009 Nebraska football.
Nice.
And
year.
looking at their defense.
Oh yeah.
And just kind of comparing it to this
defense. They were pretty good, weren't they?
They were very good. They ranked 7th nationally in like total yards allowed, first in pass or defensive pass efficiency. Guess how many sacks they had in 2009?
Was Gregory on that?
No, that was Sue. Craig had 5 in one game.
Yeah, they all come from the defensive tackles, right?
Barry Turner.
It was Sue.
Pierre Allen.
Cameron Meredith was on that team.
Yeah, Gregory was until like 2012. Right?
Try to add them up.
We'll put this on there. Over under 38.
I'd say over because you're trying to impress.
I'll go over that.
44.
Yeah,
44 sacks in 2009.
How many does this year's team have?
Haven't looked at that.
Not 44.
And they had 4 against Illinois in the first game, didn't they?
That's right.
I think they had 4 against Illinois.
Yeah, and it just makes you interested and intrigued on what that team could have done if they had any sort of offense.
If they had Adrian Martinez.
Oh, Bock. Now you're on to something.
There you go.
Now you're on to something.
How much of a winner would Adrian be if he had the 2009 defense?
I didn't think exactly it was that bad. Let's get the break and come back with more on Tom and Bock.
Tom and Bock. Watch live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch.
Hi, Sean Callahan here. In 2013, I first came across Koppel Chevrolet GMC in Louisville, and I've been a customer ever since. What's kept me coming back to Koppel is the people. Oftentimes, owner Bob Koppel and his son Brandon are right there with you in the showroom, walking you through the process. There's no runaround at Koppel. It's a hardworking Nebraska company built on honest, small-town values. So make that short drive to Louisville or visit them online at koppelcars.com.
Dancing at weddings, walking the dog, playing with grandchildren. These are the small moments that make life great. They're also the moments that chronic pain steals from us. Don't let chronic pain stop you or a loved one from living life. At MD Pain, we wrote the book on effective, ethical pain management. We offer the most up-to-date treatments from Nebraska's leading physicians. Don't let pain stand in your way. Call MD Pain.
There's not many things worse than having plumbing issues at your home or business, but it's even worse if the problem isn't fixed correctly. Select Plumbing gets it right the first time, and they specialize in several things: general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, sewer and water underground repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate at 402-560-6197. That's Select Plumbing at 402-560-6197.
One host has a red beard and thinning hair. The other also has a red beard and thinning hair. One host got married over the summer. So did the other one. One is a diehard fan of a sub-500 AL Central baseball team. So is the other. Can these two radio hosts do a show together without getting confused as to their own identity? The same couple. Happer and Shaper. Weekday mornings from 8 to 11 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Angry about a recent Nebraska football loss? Go throw axes at Kraft Axe Throwing. Optimistic about the upcoming Nebraska football game? Go sign up for free football tickets at Kraft Axe Throwing. Bring some friends, reserve a bay for an hour or more, release anger at the targets by hucking an axe at it, and walk away feeling better about yourselves and the football season, just in time to enter for a chance to win a free pair of tickets to the next home game as you walk out the door. Reserve your lane online at craftaxethrowing.com or call 402-802-9696. Kraft Axe Throwing at 18th and N in Lincoln.
Hey, sports fans. Rico here with HIS Auto Care 70th and Van Dorn. Carfax recently awarded us as a top-rated auto service center for 2020, and Lincoln Choice Awards voted us as the 2021 top independent auto repair center. Call us at 402-488-8934 for superior service bumper to bumper. Mention this ad and get 7% off. Doesn't get any better than that. Rico for his Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
Serve Nebraska believes that volunteers are part of what makes Nebraska great. Each year, the Step Forward Awards honors volunteers from across the state who serve their communities in outstanding ways. In 2021, the Step Forward Awards has been postponed to December 9th and moved to a virtual space. Join us in thanking volunteers for all they do by tuning in to the virtual Step Forward Awards celebration. Visit serve.nebraska.gov to register. Paid for by Nebraska, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. This is Tom and Bock, coming at you live from Coppell Chevrolet GMC Studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here are your hosts, Tom Stevens.
You know, we failed, but I thought it was a great effort. I thought that the plan was laid out perfectly.
Jake Bockoven.
I'm not sure I get my point across properly. I'm sure I don't do a good job of explaining what I mean.
Tom and Bock starts now.
Hour number 3 of Tom and Bock. I'm Tom Stevens. He's Jake Bockoven. I didn't want to get into the discussion. I swore I was going to avoid it. But you mentioned the name Scott Frost and the presser, and he's talking about his team. Inevitably, it happens on the text line. You know, he's got to get to 6, or he's got to get to 7, or that, 6 isn't good enough.
Hot seat discussion.
And, well, it feels like it gets to the hot seat discussion just because you mentioned the coach's name.
Yeah.
So it's really, and we really hadn't mentioned his name a lot. We were mostly just breaking down Minnesota versus Nebraska on Saturday for most of this week. But it does get to the point where you go, man, you got to get to 5 at least. And I'm saying that now.
I think that's hilarious.
It's
you got to get to 5.
No, because it used to be you got to get to 6. I mean, that was the gold standard going into this year. And that's, don't you agree? I mean,
everybody was saying got to get to a bowl game
because you haven't been to a bowl game, and this is year number 4, and you got to get to a bowl game. And even Bill Moose talked about that even last year, and maybe even a little bit before that. Well, I just hope we get to a bowl game because you need those extra practices. Well, if you go 4 years and you are not even in a bowl game, it's not easy to sell to the fan base where you're talking about a 2-for-1 ticket deal for the Purdue game. You're already having to sell the fan base. And I just don't know how, if they don't beat Purdue, you might be talking about a 3-9 season.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you still have a chance. I mean, the problem is with Wisconsin is that's on the road, and they don't win on the road. So
you're saying there's still a chance they could get to 5, right?
I think you got to get to 5. But it is. I mean, it is what it is. It's a sad conversation. Nobody wanted to be here, and I'll say it over and over again. No, this is going. If it does happen, it's going to be one where like the fan base is unanimously sad that the coach didn't work out. It's not going to be one, where you're calling for his head and saying all this, but it's just kind of like, well, I'm shocked that didn't really work. But to this point, it really hasn't. But again, it's just. It's hard to go through all this because it's the bottom line's business, and the bottom line is they're 3-5 and they haven't made a bowl game and all that stuff, and all of it sounds like it adds up to he should probably be let go. But when you consider the fact that there's just a lot to be left out there, how many of those guys that are key players are going to want to come back if you bring Scott Frost back as compared to if you bring somebody else back? Can that change the direction of your season next year? The thing that makes it the most difficult to talk about is that Nebraska is so close. Close does not get you into many. It's only good in horseshoes and hand grenades, as they say. But it's different than what we've seen, of course, under Riley. Of course, that what got Pelini fired is that he wasn't playing close against the best competition. Nebraska's played 3 of the top 10 teams, and you can tell me they're not the best top 10 teams of all time. There's no like the top 10 every year. It's not they're not as mythical as you like the top 10 sounds. So they're always, there's always going to be those teams, and they were within a possession of each of them. But when you lose to Minnesota and Illinois, but the same way, like you're not getting up for those type of games, that's ultimately who you got to be compared to is the Big Ten West, and you're not beating anybody in the Big Ten West. You've fallen from the years of Steve Peterson say we don't want to give this conference up to Texas and Oklahoma.
Too late.
And then that happened, and then we moved on to the Big Ten, and it's like, all right, well, we got to at least keep pace with Wisconsin and Iowa. Now you're at a position where you're at least trying to keep pace with Illinois and Northwestern and Minnesota, and that's just not where you want to be as a Nebraska program.
Yeah, but the people that do support the current administration, the current coaching staff, say you can't deny there's been progress. This is a better team in year 4 than it was in year 1, 2, or 3. And yet you're not winning. Why aren't you winning? And you could point easily to special teams and huge mistakes. But then even when you don't make mistakes, you win the turnover battle 2-0. Yeah. You lose the damn game. It's like you have literally found every way to lose a football game. It feels like, they are closer. There's no doubt that maybe they're, Scott Frost said yesterday when talking about the transfer portal, just a couple of more pieces. And that's why they won't recruit as much as they have in years past, because they haven't had, they don't have the scholarships this year. But it feels like they're close. It feels like, man, this is a team that, should easily be 5-3.
Yeah, and if they were 5-3, and I heard DP say this would be throwing confetti from the ceilings. I mean, that's how close we are. I mean, Nebraska fans just want to see a winner, and the last thing this team can do is win. They can get right to that point, right to the edge, and just can't get over it. But to me, like coaching, when you're doing this big of an evaluation on a guy, I keep saying it, you at least want to see till the end of the year. But more than anything, there's a few different things that play into that, and part of that is program development and development of the players and roster development. And I think that more than anything is why this team looks a lot better than they have in the past, is because they have the skill position players. You still like to be better here and there, and who wouldn't? Every team's got their holes, but they have a lot of the skill position players. A lot of that is maybe some of it's some of the super seniors coming back, but so that's kind of something, a check mark on the good side. But at the same time, if you're not winning with that team, this might be Scott Frost's best team when you consider what's coming back next year. If a lot of those guys make that decision, if they finish 5-7 with this team, why would they do much better next year with probably lesser of a roster? Maybe easier schedule. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't. Well, yeah, the easier schedule would help because this has been a difficult schedule. But I think it feels like you're running dry on excuses. Like there have been a lot of excuses made. But at the same time, I do understand that the culture has gotten better. Scott Frost said that yesterday. It's 100 times better than where we started. But it's obviously not where it needs to be. And it's not close to where, an 8-4 team would need to be, or a 10-2 team would need to be. There's been progress, but it's not close to being good enough. Even if you had won some of the games we thought, there would still be this team that we thought, and you got a long ways to go. This team has a really long ways to go. 464-5685. Next season could be worse than this year. If this is Frost's best team, they're still 3-5, and that's something we're getting off the text line quite frequently. And the program is spiraling under Scott Frost. I don't blame the players either, and I don't either. I think there's definitely been you hear the old argument, and DP used to say it on this show all the time. You get what you demand.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it's happened until this year that they've demanded, and it hasn't been good enough. They've demanded that the mistakes not happen. I mean, it doesn't go 3 years, and you can't tell me that that's not happening in practice on a daily basis. There's something of a disconnect on a daily basis, and I don't think it's just showing up in games out of willy-nilly. I mean, this is something that is systemic, and maybe it has gotten better, but it's not close to being good enough. We saw that under Bo Pelini even at times. They would win 9 games, but there were times where you thought, how did they win that game? With Scott Frost, they haven't gotten lucky to be mediocre. If they were really lucky, they could maybe be mediocre, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is, Frost is saying this part of it's just bad luck. And it's like, I don't think so. Yeah, once in a while there's a bounce of the ball, and especially in these one possession games. And that's where, it gets hard to evaluate this stuff. It's because it's consistent and it happens over and over every week that you can say, okay, well, this is why, and this is a coaching problem. But, he's not out there making the mistakes that those players are making, like it's, so you got to coach them up better. I get that. And in the long run, it's funny because I could believe in both narratives. And that's why I think this topic is so fascinating, is that clearly that this team is getting better. And then you get that gut punch loss against Minnesota, but overall still getting better. And so that's why you should believe moving forward. But at the same time, on the other side, if you say, hey, there's just not enough momentum going on, there's not enough wins, it wouldn't be allowed if Scott Frost wasn't a former champion and the native son and all that. And that, that's probably all true. So it's just kind of, we're going to see where Trev Alberts lands, and we're going to see how this team finishes, because this is what we're talking about now. Again, it doesn't look likely, especially given the past, that they're going to turn around and make a bowl game, but they have three out of 4 home games left. They have 3 out of 4 opponents left or there probably should be in those one possession games. Can you turn that around? Can you turn the corner and finally learn to win those? Hopefully you can at least get 2 and get to 5, as Tom's goal is now 5 wins.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I am right now. 464-5685 is this, Scott is the football version of Tim Miles. Somebody says, raise the bar, couldn't get over the hump. I don't know if that's a good comparison at all.
I think that's offensive to Tim Miles right now. Tim Miles
should be very angry about those comments. No, I don't think that's necessarily a good comparison. But I do think that they have gotten better, which makes it a weird conversation when you're evaluating a coach, because it was easy at the end of the Riley era. They had given up. They had quit. When your team quits on you, that's a sheer sign that you got to move forward with another coach, with a different direction. When your team plays as hard as they have been for Scott Frost, that's another thing. It's not as easy to say, well, they've mailed it in. They're obviously done. They can't wait to get out of this school and do something else with their life. I don't see the evidence of that. I see a quarterback who's been a warrior. I see JoJo Domann, who came back for another year, who's been extremely good, or guys like Deontay Williams, or Markel Dismuke, who desperately wanted to make this program better. And part of that was because of who their head coach was. They liked him, and they wanted to leave Nebraska in a better place than what they found it. And in some ways they have. It's just not in the record, which is that's the most, because you want it so bad for these guys because they want it so bad for themselves. It's almost like they want it too much because there's always something that is a disaster at the end of every movie scene that we see. We've talked about the movie scene, and it always ends the same way, or it always ends with the same result, not always the same way.
Well, yeah, and I think it's too tough because I don't think there's enough. It's hard to say this when Minnesota dropped to Bowling Green, but I don't think there's enough respect given to Minnesota. I mean, if you just lump in Minnesota with the Illinois loss, those are completely different things. Minnesota was only a 2-point underdog in this game. They're at home. That's a respectable program that won 11 games a couple years ago. Illinois is still the one that's going to come back and bite Nebraska every time because that's a new coach, a pretty rough football program overall, and they went out and won that game in week 0. I mean, and that's, again, even if you flip that game and Nebraska's 4-4 at this point, we're not as happy, but at least you're thinking about, okay, they can still get to 6. There's still a path to 6. Even if they drop one of these ones that they're supposed to, they could get an upset, all of that. But now you're and that's the type of loss that, I mean, if you continually had, then you'd have to, at some point, you'd have to pull the plug on this whole thing. But you don't have that left on the schedule. You have tough games: Purdue, Wisconsin, Iowa, and Ohio State. I don't know. I mean, to me, if you pull off 2 of those, it's pathetic to get to 5-7. Maybe the APR can get you to a bowl game. That's not where you want to be. But considering, and I'll say it along with Scott Frost, I guess, the bad luck that you had this year and that you just couldn't get over the hump in several of those games, and you've seen the progress, I think that might be enough. But it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy to get to 4. They have 3 top 25 opponents left of their Final Four in Wisconsin, who beats them over and over again. So, it's still a challenge just even to get to 5. And is 5 good enough is going to be interesting. I think it will be if you're talking about ultimately bringing him back for another season.
Text line says this: if Nebraska were getting lucky, they'd have at least one game against a top 10 program. That does feel like they've been snake bit. Was that the word that Scott Frost used earlier this year, which I didn't like because it feels like you're ingraining that whole thought process. We just can't get a break. We're snake bit. We're never going to get a break. And it does feel like this team does play that way at times. Like they can't get a break because they always do something stupid at the end of games that would not allow them to get a break. You kick it, 30 yards the other direction, or you just miss field goals. Or you miss an extra point. I mean, the one extra field goal was an extra point. I mean, it was less than an extra point in the NFL. It's inexplicable what has happened to Nebraska football. But I think so much of it is between the ears because it's not an effort problem. It's a belief that something's probably going to go wrong. I mean, even though you don't want to think that way, you get closer to the end of a game and you think, well, man, we've gotten through 3 quarters. One more quarter to go, and then, of course, something happens. There's a disconnect somewhere.
Well, I mean, part of that, too, is playing from behind, though. You got to play a 4-quarter ball game. If you're thinking about winning, winning these one-possession games, how about don't make it a one-possession game? How about win by 2 touchdowns, come out in the first half and play like you did in the second half? Like Michigan, as close as that ball game was, they didn't score a point in the first half. You're not going to win too many ball games if you're not scoring a point in the first half. So, I agree with you, though. I think it is mental, and you hate to just like circle one guy, but I'd also be interested, and I'm fascinating with this decision if Frost does come back, what Adrian Martinez is going to do, because I think Adrian Martinez is your best chance to keep the momentum moving forward next season. But I also desperately want to evaluate Frost without Adrian Martinez, just because their marriage is the same story over and over again that we say with the team. It's the same story. Well, it's the same thing with that group. I would hate to give up on a coach with only seeing one quarterback, but at the same time, you're going to stick with a quarterback for 5 years and you get the same results. You don't really give anybody much of an option.
Well, we've seen other quarterbacks. Luke Vedral, I think we saw, or
Noah
Vedral, and Luke McCaffrey, and we've seen a few other quarterbacks. But yeah, you're right. But they've been given opportunities. both Noah and Luke were given opportunities to play, and certainly we saw enough of Luke to know that he wasn't better than Adrian. Adrian was the right guy to start. And I think that's been proven even after Luke left the program.
Yeah.
And I think Logan Smothers will be a very good quarterback. I really think he's a son of a quarterback coach. But one guy, without a lot of help, has not had great success, even though he has in the record books. And that's why I always go back to guys like who had much better records, whether you're talking about Taylor or Tommy. They had much better records, but they had much better teams around them. I don't know that they're much better quarterbacks than Adrian. I think Adrian would have had success on those teams as well. So I'm not going to be willing to blame Adrian for this, but it does feel like if he's looking at his career, and what do I have to really gain? Yeah, I could do it. And maybe that'll be his ultimate motivation. I really want to get this thing done and show Husker Nation that we can be an 8-win team, or, can be a bowl team and have great success. And that might drive him, because it did drive guys like JoJo Doman and all those super seniors.
To me, the what does he have to left to prove is everything. I mean, I think that's his whole legacy can get turned around if he can come back and win some of these games. But because as it's written now, it's not very pretty. But at the same time, you can completely get done. If he wanted to, he could also leave and transfer somewhere else where he could just get rid of all the whispers and all the talk around what his legacy hasn't been or whatever, and start anew. And most places around the nation would say, "Oh, Adrian Martinez, that guy. I know he couldn't quite win at Nebraska, as it was built around him. That guy's explosive. We'd love to have him."
The text line asks if I'm defending Frost, and kind of, in some ways.
I think there's mixed feelings in the room. I think there's mixed feelings in the fan base.
I think that's the case. I think we all want, it's similar to Adrian. We want him to have success. He was in the family. He brought a national title to Nebraska.
Yeah.
It was the coolest story that guy's coming back home from Central Florida to rebuild what Husker Nation once was. And I still think the story would end much better if Scott Frost is the one directing the movie. If he is the one getting Nebraska to the finish line, I think it would be so much better. And I really think that's what Trev Alberts wants, that he's going to use everything in his power to try to make sure that Scott Frost is the one that gets Nebraska back to what, maybe never back to the 90s, but certainly back to what we remember as really good football all the time. It may not happen with his entire staff, but I think there's going to be a lot of hesitation, unless it's the absolute last resort, to do it with anybody but Scott Frost. At least for now. I mean, and for now is, 1 week until we play Purdue.
Yeah, I mean, a loss against Purdue could change a lot of this narrative too.
It's amazing how quickly the discussions happen. I mean, look at LSU. It doesn't feel like that long ago that they won a national title, because it wasn't.
Yeah.
And 2 years later, they're done.
They're done with that coach. Yeah.
And I think Nebraska at one time was LSU and demanded that kind of success.
Yep.
And now we're here after all the coaching changes, after Bill Callahan, Frank Solich, Bill Callahan, Bo Pelini, Mike Riley. We're here, and we think, man, if he doesn't make it work, what do you do?
I think you're in a bit of a dangerous position there too, though, because Nebraska, I mean, if you have this loyalty feeling for Scott Frost that you just want to stick with him, and it somewhat makes sense. I mean, one of the reasons why Scott Frost was so ballyhooed when he came here wasn't just because of what he was, had done at Central Florida. It's the fact that if this guy hits, he could be a 25-year guy. This could be like stability in the program for years, because unless he takes another job, like where's else he's going to go? This is alma mater, this is home, all that stuff. But I think you're in a dangerous spot, because I think there's this idea. And again, I think I just kind of blame Bo Pelini for this, because people think that once you get to 9 wins, you're at the Bo Pelini mark, you'll just win 9 wins all the time.
Yeah.
It's not that easy. The programs moves up and down and all that. So even if Scott Frost does, put together his perfect senior group and get to 8 wins, that doesn't mean anything for the next season. No. So I hope that you don't get too loyal to that idea, because I would like Nebraska, they're so far away that you can't do it right now, but would like Nebraska to have that LSU mindset. And I do know some fans that aren't going to let that go, even though the last 5 years have been what they were. But right now it kind of is what it is, and that's why you've taken off the hey. It doesn't matter. Just get to a bowl game. I don't care what your record is. Just get to a bowl game. And if you come short of that, then there's some evaluation that has to be done.
The text line 464-5685 said, so you'd rather lose with Scott Frost than win with someone else. It's unbelievable. I don't think I said that, but I know some fans who are kind of that way. Like, I'd rather lose with Scott Frost than win with somebody else. Just because you want it so bad with Scott Frost. I don't feel that way. I think there'll be a time that if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out and you got to move on. But we also had the understanding this was going to be a long runway. Or
Give
at
me 5 years.
Well, maybe 7. I mean, remember the extension by Bill Moose. So maybe, some of us thought 7. I just don't have a good feeling all the time when it's time. I think we'll all know. I mean, you mentioned it the other day, like Mike Riley.
Yeah.
The Oklahoma State. It was even before
Bill Callahan.
Bill Callahan was Oklahoma State.
Mike Riley was
during the season. Yeah. That was after Sean Eichhorst was fired. But but Bill Callahan, Oklahoma State. We were all there. If you were there, you knew the feeling in that stadium. I remember walking out of that stadium, and the broadcasters who never act this way. Jim Rose at the time, Matt Davidson, Adrian Fiala were like, "This is, I think this is the end, guys.
Yeah,
I think it's over." So everybody knew that was the end. But in this case, I think we'll just know positive or negative, and I think you'll kind of know, like, hey, you don't need to be reminded that it's over. You know.
Well, and some people have already shifted that way. I've said, I didn't come up with this feeling this year. I jumped on board when it looked like they were doing good. Don't get me wrong, and I think that there's a lot of talent on this team, and I think that they should be a bowl team. So I mean, part of it's not just the result, but trust your own eyes. And I've said it since the middle of last season. There was a point where it hit I don't know if I believe in this thing. I hope for it. I don't know if I believe in it, and nothing has really taken me from that opinion. And I'll continue to hope for it. My belief has sparked up at times and died down at times, but it's not. It's going to take a lot to convince me that Frost. I mean, what's the goal? Because when Frost was hired, there's a lot of people going, he could be the next Tom Osborne.
Right.
Okay, that's ridiculous.
Never thought that.
What's the goal to begin with? Is it's to get back to Pelini years without getting blown out, basically.
To win a Big Ten championship, I think is the ultimate goal, and make a 14 playoff or 8 or whatever it is by the time Nebraska makes it again. But I think the goal right now is just look like a football team, and they have at times. That's the frustrating thing. Look like a football team that can execute in key situations and win football games. They've done a lot of that right. They haven't done the winning part right, and that's why some people are more willing to give a longer runway. And quite frankly, some people are going to look a little ridiculous if they do run off 3 in a row or 2. If they, what happens?
Well, people are going to look ridiculous one way or the other. It's going to play out. There's no way to, they're going to get fired eventually or not. So
all I'm saying is they could win 3 out of the next 4, and then all the talk stops on that front. Anyway. But just get to 5.
just get to 5. That's the mantra for the season now.
Just get to 5. I've changed my tune. We'll talk to Mitch Sherman of The Athletic. He's coming up next on Tom and Bock.
Download our app by searching 93.7 The Ticket in your app store to stay in touch and listen all day long wherever you are. This is Tom and Bock.
Hi, Sean Callahan here. In 2013, I first came across Koppel Chevrolet GMC in Louisville, and I've been a customer ever since. What's kept me coming back to Koppel is the people. Oftentimes, owner Bob Koppel and his son Brandon are right there with you in the showroom, walking you through the process. There's no runaround at Koppel. It's a hardworking Nebraska company built on honest, small-town values. So make that short drive to Louisville or visit them online at koppelcars.com.
Serve Nebraska believes that volunteers are part of what makes Nebraska great. Each year, the Step Forward Awards honors volunteers from across the state who serve their communities in outstanding ways. In 2021, the Step Forward Awards has been postponed to December 9th and moved to a virtual space. Join us in thanking volunteers for all they do by tuning in to the virtual Step Forward Awards celebration. Visit serve.nebraska.gov to register. Paid for by Serve Nebraska, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Tired of interrupted printing or money-wasting long-term copier contract? Join Cartridge World's no-cost printer program. You get a free brand printer, free service maintenance and repair, free delivery. All this for just buying our high-quality, affordable printer cartridges. Simple agreements and a local-friendly service, as it has been for more than 25 years. Cartridge World. Contact us today.
In every office, there's two types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe.
It's time to carve out good savings at Supreme Spa and Pool, above ground pools. Now from $29.99, Stella, the world's strongest semi-in-ground pool
with a lifetime transferable warranty.
from $69.99. Book now. In-ground pool packages from $29.99.
Installed this year.
Cash and carry spas from $39.99.
Ready for immediate pickup.
With a free water care kit. Carve out good savings at SupremeSpaAndPool.com.
This is your high school minute.
With your Southeast Community College High School Minute, I'm Harrison Arns. High school football playoffs are right around the corner as teams jockey for seeding. On Friday, Lincoln East took care of Lincoln Northeast 56-14. East would look unstoppable at times, scoring on 6 straight drives. Lincoln Southeast lost handedly to Gretna, 42-14. Southeast moved to 10 in the power rankings despite a bad second half. Lincoln High shut out Omaha Northwest 34-0. North beat Lincoln Pius 43-22. Lincoln Southwest was shut out by Omaha Burke 24-0. Waverly won big over Crete 48-14. Lincoln Christian fell to Milford 46-20, and Lincoln Lutheran won over Centennial by a touchdown 28-21. In Class A softball, Lincoln Southwest came out as this year's champion after facing Lincoln East on Friday with a final score of 16-7. The last time 2 Lincoln teams faced off in the championship was 2009 between Southwest and North Star. This has been your High School Minute, sponsored by Southeast Community College, with locations in Lincoln, Beatrice, and Milford. Learn more today at southeast.edu.
Shopping for new flooring is different today. Getting your questions answered, making the right selection, getting the best value, and installed quickly and professionally. Visit OStreetCarpet.com or shop our store. We'll answer all your questions and help you make the right choice. You'll be enjoying your new floor at Just Days for less than you'd pay elsewhere. Carpet, vinyl, wood, laminate, tile, and area rugs. We've got it all.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
Hey, sports fans. Rico here with HIS Auto Care 70th and Van Dorn. Carfax recently awarded us as a top-rated auto service center for 2020, and Lincoln Choice Awards voted us as the 2021 top independent auto repair center. Call us at 402-488-8934 for superior service bumper to bumper. Mention this ad and get 7% off. Doesn't get any better than that. Rico for his Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
Breakfast tacos, brisket tacos, pork tacos, chicken tacos. You hungry yet? I can keep going. Pork or chicken, queso nachos, queso mac and cheese, hatch mac burritos. Now you're salivating. Muchachos is Lincoln's premier New Mexico barbecue fusion restaurant. And you can't miss them in their bright blue building. Pair that great food with delicious coffee for breakfast and a variety of local and national beers on tap the rest of the day. Order your food online at yomuchacho.com or visit them in person at Muchachos on South 11th Street between L and K Streets.
You're listening to Tom and Bock on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Big win for Appalachian State last night.
That's right.
They beat Coastal Carolina last night. It was their first win over a top 10 team. Actually, a top 25 team since 2007. Do you remember who they beat?
Oh, I always remember 2007 App State.
Yeah. Here's the play.
kick the field goal. It'll be Jason Gingell out of the hold of Mesco. Good snap, good hold, and the kick is blocked. Appalachian State has stunned the college football world. One of the greatest upsets in sports history.
Is that going too far? The greatest upset was. Let's ask Mitch.
I think they were
that.
Division II at that time.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Let's ask Mitch Sherman. Greatest upset, or at least one of them, top 5 in college football history. Would you say that?
I would, yeah. I mean, I remember that game vividly. Did you say Michigan was ranked number 2 at the time of that game?
I think they were number 5 actually in that game.
Number 5?
Yeah,
okay.
Number 5.
Well, yeah, that's. I mean, App State was not. They were not App State from last night.
Yeah.
That's a much different program than what App State was in 2007. So, I mean, they've obviously made the jump to FBS and have had success and been in bowl games. That was not the case. They were a good FCS program at the time, but to beat Michigan in the way it happened, in the big house, biggest stadium in the sport, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the biggest upsets in college football history. I don't know that I'd put it on the level of like the 1980 hockey upset, but in college football history, I mean, it's near the top.
Yeah, within the college football realm, definitely. Mitch Sherman of The Athletic is our guest. There's been a lot of talk, and I think you've tweeted about it, Mitch, about culture this week. It started with PJ Fleck after the game saying that was a culture win versus skill. And Scott Frost addressed it yesterday saying, I think our culture hasn't gotten 100 times better. And Minnesota has a lot of talent as well. What'd you take from some of those comments, both from PJ Fleck and then Scott Frost?
Well, PJ he's a little bit petty, but he's also justified in being able to defend himself because it was a reaction to what Scott Frost said about his program back in July at Big Ten Media Days when Scott was asked about whether he had a slogan. And I think it was a fairly innocent question. I don't know. I don't believe it was anybody local who asked the question. It was just, probably something Minnesota related. Like, hey, we all know what the Gopher slogan is, and you can see it all over their stadium when you're reminded when you walk through the tunnels of Huntington Bank Stadium and you see the oars glued to the walls. What Minnesota's slogan is, and they use that for some more than just good within the team. And PJ will be the first to point that out about it's a charitable thing, and it kind of permeates the entire football program and makes them the kind of representatives of that university that he wants. So that's just his way to do it. So whatever, it's fine. I mean, I don't have any reason to dislike Minnesota because of their slogan, but Scott Frost made a comment in Indianapolis about how he doesn't believe in sloganeering, and he doesn't think players should need that to be motivated. And I'm sure Fleck didn't like that. I'm sure it's been sitting with him for a while, especially since his team beat Scott Frost the last 2 years, by significant margins, and last year with a depleted roster. So beats him again on Saturday at home, and decides to make kind of a backhanded comment about culture over skill. I understand that he's probably not doing his own team a whole lot of favors by saying that. But perhaps he was talking about Mo Ibrahim and their number 2 running back also being out when he says, Nebraska had more skill than Minnesota, because that's what he said. Then whatever. I mean, that's Fleck. He's gonna stick out his chest. He's gonna talk for 10 minutes without a question at the start of a press conference. That's just who he is. And if you like it, great. If you're a Minnesota fan, you probably do. And then for Frost yesterday to say that he hadn't heard the comment when he had an answer prepared before saying he hadn't heard the comment was laughable. Scott Frost had absolutely heard the comment, despite him saying that he hadn't. So they're both just kind of silly in this thing. And Scott didn't say anything yesterday that was like overly offensive to Minnesota. So I'm sure it'll continue for as long as these two guys are going against each other. And we can keep reacting to it.
That's kind of a fun little battle within the game there. But how do you size up that game? Because I know a lot of people are kind of just lumping in the Minnesota and the Illinois loss. In my mind, Minnesota's a way better team than Illinois and has a chance to win the West. But I understand the frustration might mount up toward about the same.
Well, I think you lump them together because Nebraska did not look. There's 2 games this year where Nebraska's not shown improvement, and obviously one of those is Illinois. You didn't necessarily have a lot to improve upon. You don't go back to last year. It was a baseline, and it wasn't a good baseline to set in week 0. So that game sticks out like a sore thumb. And then you go through week 1 through 7, and really each week Nebraska did something to get a little bit better, despite losing 4 of those 7 games. And then you get to the 8th game of the year, and it took a step back. So that was definitely a step back. There was not really any area where Nebraska made strides from the Michigan game the week before against the Gophers. So that to me is why those games are grouped together, because they're the 2 this year where there's not really much at all you can take away from it and say, okay, but they did do this, and that was a positive. There's not. I can't think of a positive from that game. The defense played well in the second half until the end, but the defense had played well, even better other times this year in the second half. So there's not a step in the right direction really in anything that Nebraska did Saturday.
He's Mitch Sherman of The Athletic, at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. You had your mid-year progress report column on Nebraska, and in it you ask what's left for Nebraska. So I'll ask you, what's left for Nebraska, knowing that they're 3-5?
Well, they can still strive to win every game on the schedule, and there are great opponents or very good opponents in every week. So there's opportunities that still exist for Nebraska to show progress and to make something of the season. And we can sit here and say that it's unlikely that Nebraska is going to get to 6 wins and get to the postseason, but on paper it can still happen, and they're just going to have to play the best stretch of football by far that has occurred in 4 seasons under Scott Frost. So, at some point you've got to play your best stretch of football. That moment is going to be there. Right now their best stretch of football is either at a 2 or 3 weeks at the beginning of 2019 between the Colorado and Ohio State games, or the end of the 2018 season when Nebraska won 4 of its last 6. Neither of those periods are historically good or or even like the rise much above mediocre play in the larger context. So here's an opportunity to put something that goes way beyond those 2. You can leave those 2 periods in the dust over these next 4 games, and that's what's there. Play really well against 4 teams, 3 of which are ranked right now, and the other is Wisconsin on the road. So I would say the players, they can go into the locker room on Monday morning, start practice for another game week, and say these are tangible things that we can do over the next 5 weeks to really make something of this season.
Do you think that Scott Frost has to make it to a bowl game to show progress, or do you think that there's already been progress shown, and the record is going to be where it lands, but at least the program looks like it's headed in the right direction?
I think this is the kind of a season and the kind of a team where showing real progress is something that can only be reflected in your win total. If it's year 1, year 2, then you can do it in other ways. And what fans and media see from week to week in the product on the field, and it's still a way to show it's a type of, I don't know if progress is the right word. It's like movement in a good direction. What Nebraska, and that's probably just the definition of progress. So you're splitting hairs here. My evaluation of what progress would be in 2021, if you asked me at the beginning of the year, would be it has to show up in the win column. It can't be close losses, because they've had those before, and they've fallen short in the past because of details that didn't get ironed out, or special teams mistakes, or one play here, one play there. We've seen it all in the past. So progress, it's got to show up in the win column. And if you don't get to those 6 wins and sit at 500 and make it to a bowl game and have the extra practices, then I don't really think in the end that it is progress. And I don't think that this is a good way to look at it. I don't think that the guys on the defensive side who decided last January to come back and give this thing another shot, I don't think that in any way they would have said, we're going to be okay with having 4 or 5 wins if the team plays better.
Right.
That's not what they came here to win games. They came back to win games.
Yep.
All the players who signed up, they came to do it to win games, and that's not happened with enough regularity this year.
He's Mitch Sherman of The Athletic, at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. But the guy that will ultimately make that decision, whatever that decision might be, is Trev Alberts. And I have listened to him speak, and he talks about the Directors' Cup, and you can tell that winning is really important to him. But I also sense that he would love to do this thing with Scott Frost at the helm. Like, that would be a much bigger splash if you could do it with the guy that's a Husker.
Yeah, I'm not. When I say that, if they don't make it to a bowl game, they're not showing progress. I'm not grouping that into the discussion of well, that automatically means that there's a coaching change.
Gotcha.
You had to ask me today. No, I don't think that would mean that. There's 4 games left to evaluate, and then other things to evaluate within the program that are going to factor in that decision. Absolutely, Trev wants to do this with Scott. There's a kinship between the two of them, being both former Tom Osborne players, to where Trev, this is not Steve Peterson in 2002, December of 2002, coming in and knowing that he was probably going to have to make a change in the first year. It's not Osborne coming in and intending, just fully preparing to fire Bill Callahan in 2007. This is not Sean Eichhorst in 2012, realizing that Bo Pelini probably was not long for Nebraska, or Bill Moose in 14 Bill Moose in 17 with Mike Riley. Obviously, that was going to be the end for Mike Riley before Bill Moose came in. This is totally different than all of those situations. Trev 100% wants to make this work, wanted to make it work when he was hired in July, and still today wants to make it work. So I think you have to judge this and evaluate this and look at it from the outside differently than all four of those previous situations with former athletic directors.
Now, Mitch, before we let you go, we like to get your idea of some of the goings on in the Big Ten. Not a whole lot of big games around the league this week, but probably the biggest one has Nebraska's next 2 opponents, Wisconsin at number 25, newly number 25, Purdue. How do you think that one's going to play out?
I think Wisconsin will probably win because that's just Purdue. I don't know that I, like early in the year or even as recently as last week, we talked a lot about Nebraska and the trust factor and whether I didn't make a prediction on that game last Saturday because I didn't have to. There was nowhere in print where it was required for me to do it. And somebody asked me before the game in the press box, so do you think Nebraska's going to get it done today? And I couldn't even spit out a logical answer. I was just like, I don't know, we'll see. And that's how I feel about Purdue. That's how I feel about Purdue. They should. I mean, Wisconsin is not vintage Wisconsin, not close to vintage Wisconsin, and Purdue's riding a high. But I think they're maybe ripe for a letdown. Purdue with this national ranking and how well Purdue played last week against Iowa on the road. So I do. I think Wisconsin's going to go in there and win. And it's too bad for Purdue because they've got and Jeff Brom. If it happens that way, they've got a good thing going and seem to have finally figured something out at quarterback with Aiden O'Connell. I mean, they're healthy for the first time in several years at that position. They've got a great player at receiver with David Bell and a great player at defensive end in George Karlaftis. Those guys are going to give Nebraska headaches in scouting. I'm sure they're already looking at them, but even more next week when they get into their game plan and trying to figure out how to stop those guys. So, Purdue is a factor, I think, in the Big Ten West, and a huge factor if the Boilers can beat Wisconsin at home this week. But I just kind of fear it's not going to happen.
Yeah, well, Wisconsin is a 3.5-point favorite in that game versus number 25 Purdue. Yeah. Great stuff, Mitch, as always. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Mitch Sherman of The Athletic, at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. Let's get to break and finish out with pregame coming up next.
You're listening to Tom and Bock. Watch live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch.
It's time to carve out good savings at Supreme Spa and Pool, above ground pools. Now, from $29.99, Stella, the world's strongest semi-in-ground pool.
With a lifetime transferable warranty.
From $69.99. Book now. In-ground pool packages. From $29.99.
Installed this year.
Cash and carry spas. From $39.99.
Ready for immediate pickup.
With a free water care kit. Carve out good savings at SupremeSpaAndPool.com.
This is your high school minute.
With your Southeast Community College High School Minute, I'm Harrison Arns. High school football playoffs are right around the corner as teams jockey for seeding. On Friday, Lincoln East took care of Lincoln Northeast 56-14. East would look unstoppable at times, scoring on 6 straight drives. Lincoln Southeast lost handedly to Gretna, 42-14. Southeast moved to 10 in the power rankings despite a bad second half. Lincoln High shut out Omaha Northwest 34-0. Norris beat Lincoln Pius 43-22. Lincoln Southwest was shut out by Omaha Burke 24-0. Waverly won big over Crete 48-14. Lincoln Christian fell to Milford 46-20, and Lincoln Lutheran won over Centennial by a touchdown 28-21. In Class A softball, Lincoln Southwest came out as this year's champion after facing Lincoln East on Friday with a final score of 16-7. The last time 2 Lincoln teams faced off in the championship was 2009 between Southwest and North Star. This has been your High School Minute, sponsored by Southeast Community College, with locations in Lincoln, Beatrice, and Milford. Learn more today at southeast.edu.
Breakfast tacos, brisket tacos, pork tacos, chicken tacos. You hungry yet? I can keep going. Pork or chicken, queso nachos, queso mac and cheese, hatch mac burritos. Now you're salivating. Muchachos is Lincoln's premier New Mexico barbecue fusion restaurant. You can't miss them in their bright blue building. Pair that great food with delicious coffee for breakfast and a variety of local and national beers on tap the rest of the day. Order your food online at yomuchacho.com or visit them in person at Muchachos on South 11th Street between L and K Streets.
Shopping for new flooring is different today. Getting your questions answered, making the right selection, getting the best value, and installed quickly and professionally. Visit ostreetcarpet.com or shop our store. We'll answer all your questions and help you make the right choice. You'll be enjoying your new floor in just days for less than you'd pay elsewhere. Carpet, vinyl, wood, laminate, tile, and area rugs. We've got it all.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
Hey, sports fans. Rico here with HIS Auto Care 70th and Van Dorn. Carfax recently awarded us as a top-rated auto service center for 2020, and Lincoln Choice Awards voted us as the 2021 top independent auto repair center. Call us at 402-488-8934 for superior service bumper to bumper. Mention this ad and get 7% off. Doesn't get any better than that. Rico for his Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
The party is back on in Lincoln this fall, and there's no party like the A1 Automotive Ticket Tailgate pregame show at Tipsy Tina's in the Haymarket. Join the whole ticket crew for 2.5 hours of pregame coverage before every home and away game this football season as they get you ready for the game. It's the A1 Automotive Ticket Tailgate pregame show at Tipsy Tina's in the Haymarket, sponsored by Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping, Tractor Supply Distribution Center, T.O. Haas Tire and Auto, Planet Fitness, Barnwood and Leather, and Vitalize Health.
Tired of interrupted printing or money-wasting long-term copier contract? Join Cartridge World's no-cost printer program. You get a free brand printer, free service maintenance and repair, free delivery. All this for just buying our high-quality, affordable printer cartridges. Simple agreements and local friendly service, as it has been for more than 25 years. Cartridge World. Contact us today.
Back to Tom and Bock on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back. Final segment of Tom and Bock pregame getting started as we speak. The guys are here, Rico and Nick, getting ready for, of course, happy hour. I want to ask you all this question because this is a funny story to me. Multiple LSU players have disputed that Ed Orgeron had girlfriends at practice. In fact, several of them at practice. That's a story that I actually wish were true. I'm disappointed.
Bro,
that
what are they doing? Why are you snitching?
Yeah. Hey, baby, want to come to practice? I mean, is that? I wonder if that's his pickup line.
Oh,
Leave Edo alone. Well, you got
your kids can participate in the drills.
That's right. It would sound more like
yeah,
that.
imagine getting hit on by.
I always thought he sounded like the guy either from Waterboy or Billy Bob Thornton from Sling Blade. French fried taters.
French fried here.
French fried taters.
Go Tigers.
I'm gonna miss Ed Orgeron.
Do we want to take a call?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Do we have
yeah.
time?
Tim's on the pregame.
Tim's on the pregame.
Tim, what do you want?
Hey guys, thanks for taking my call.
Nice.
Seriously, what we need to do is we need to look at Mitch Sherman because he's an outside voice, outside of the program. If we took a poll amongst the nation, if Scott Frost should keep his job, the only state that's voting for him is us. I called in the Sports Nightly the other night and talked to Craig Sharp. Greg completely defends Scott Frost. When I got off the air, it then dawned on me, well, no kidding, he's defending him. He's getting paid by the university. I think the media, and I'm not saying you guys, but the media just needs to be honest and look at this through the eyes of an actual college football program that wants to go somewhere, and we need to stop looking at it through the eyes of Husker fans.
Yeah, well, I agree. I mean, well, there'll be plenty of time for that, right? You got 4 weeks left. And as I say, just get to 5.
Just get to 5's the
Tim, I appreciate the call.
No, I appreciate the call.
Is that?
But I don't want to talk about that right now.
it feels like we're sometimes forced down that road of hot seat talking.
I don't want to talk about it.
But yeah, there'll be plenty of time. Because if they beat Purdue, then it's going to quiet down, and then you have a chance at Wisconsin after that.
Is it going to quiet down?
Yeah, if they beat Purdue, it'll quiet down at least a little bit
for a week until if they lose to the next.
So you said get to 5. Is that where we're at now?
I think that's where we are.
That's
where we're.
Wow, why you out here moving the goalposts, Tom?
Just get to 4.
What are you doing?
Just next week, just get to 4.
You know, we're happy with 3. We like 3.
I kind of like 3, but there are some games going on. Of course, Rico's very happy today because the Knicks beat our Celtics 138-140. 134 in double overtime. It was a great game. One of the best opening tips I've ever seen. I mean, it's historically good as far as points are concerned.
An awful defensive game down the stretch.
Yeah, it was terrible defense, but it was fun to watch, and there were a lot of threes made.
Tibbs was pissed.
Yeah.
He was not happy. He wants defense.
Do you think that's what happened to us? We should have Thibodeau. That should be our coach.
Why he used to be an assistant for the championship.
He's the reason you won your championship.
He's not the reason.
And now you're taking all our players. You're taking
took 2 of them.
You took Kemba.
Yeah.
Well, and the guy
Fournier,
that scored
that beat us.
Fournier was.
You didn't want him.
Fournier was the one that kept you guys in that game.
I don't want to pay him that much.
By the way, congratulations to your Bulls. They looked good last night.
Yeah. They sure did.
They played the Pistons.
They almost lost to the Pistons.
But Levine had 34 again. I mean, they've got some. DeRozan's good.
Pistons.
You want to know?
Nikola Vucevic got swatted by Jeremy Grant.
Yeah, but he dropped 15 and 15. You want to know what Zach Levine said yesterday? Is he said it feels different this year.
I did see that. Yeah, I bet it does. He finally has some teammates.
Didn't we hear that about football?
Oh,
everything feels different.
Well, now we're okay with 3 wins.
Yeah. I want to ask you guys about this because Hayden Swartz, who decommitted from Nebraska, now says actually Nebraska is the one that dropped him because he wanted to take other visits. What do you think about that?
Wow,
I did not see that.
Pew, pew.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to look around, you can get out.
But that I mean, I think a lot of coaches have that rule. Like, you could take other visits, but you're done. I mean, a lot of coaches have that rule.
Okay, if I'm a head coach, I offer a kid, he commits to me, and he's like, yeah, but I still have 3 official visits I want to take. I'm like, okay, one of them's here. You could take your other 2, but I'm confident in the fact that you committed to us and you want to come here. You do whatever you want. I don't care. You ain't going to decommit, and if you decommit, then, that's on me. But I don't understand just dropping a kid because he wants to use his visits. It's the only time he's going to be recruited.
If I was a college kid, I'd take all 5 visits.
Before committing.
And 4 of them,
I
would take 4 of them to Hawaii.
That's right, yeah.
You've got the Braves and Browns and the Broncos tonight, and then you've got L.A. at home versus Atlanta.
Yes.
What are you watching?
I'm probably watching the baseball game.
Give me the Broncos and give me the Braves.
Yeah, I'm going to watch Browns versus Broncos. We're out. We'll see you tomorrow. It's going to be Friday when we do. Happy Hour is coming up next. See ya.
Hey, sports fans. Rico here with HIS Auto Care 70th and Van Dorn. Carfax recently awarded us as a top-rated auto service center for 2020,